Hello everyone and welcome to the final event of the games, the Marathon. I'm Rick, your commentator for this final event and actually one of the runners. That'll be fun. The event itself is an any % speed run of Sonic Mania, meaning Chaos Emeralds will not be required for any participants in order to finish. Everyone will be using Sonic only with the drop dash equipped. Time starts when everyone hits start on the file select and ends when Eggman takes his last hit. Game overs do not disqualify our runners, but you will have to redo the zone and that's going to take some time. Our runners for this final event are actually the captains of our 4 nations, Rick of Imperium Ludum, John of Youbetchastan, CJ of Daisy Baby Bitch territory, and Geoff of Tierra de los Hermanos Hook. If this is your first time watching a Sonic race here on the D-pad, we actually have a few of these under the D-pad Rivals banner, but this is actually the first time that every runner will have the same character and the same restrictions for the entire race. So, without further ado, let's begin. On your marks, get set, go. Our runners are also not allowed to turn off any of the cutscenes or end them early. We're not actually sure if there's many that you can do that to, but if it were possible, then we would be jumping ahead, so we would need to re-stitch in the video footage to make up that difference there. None of that allowed. Alright, so we have our egg robos before transformation as they discover the Phantom Ruby here on Angel Island in the Angel Island Zone entrance from Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And all of our runners have been teleported to Green Hill Zone, Act 1, where our race will officially begin. Alright, now you might be wondering what is up with the music for this. Obviously, we're running 4 different races at the same time, so we wouldn't want to have 4 different copies of the same music all at once. So what we've opted to do is have whoever's in the lead have their music be playing, and if someone else takes the lead, we fade out to the other player. Now, generally speaking, that means that we'll be fading from the same track for all of these, so it hopefully won't be too jarring, but we'll see how it goes. I believe CJ is actually out to an early lead here. Everyone's getting up to. Actually, it looks like CJ and I are both pretty close at the moment. I might actually be just a little bit ahead. We're all keeping pretty close pace. John just barely behind as well. Actually, has now taken the lead himself. Oh, and right there, John and I have both entered into the special stage rings, and CJ right behind. Normally, this would be not a bad thing. However, in this race here at the games, we're going for any %. We don't need Chaos Emeralds. As you can see, Geoff was able to stop himself in time and avoid the giant ring, putting him into first in this very first stage. Oop, it looked like he was going for the bonus stage for a moment, but he's actually going, oh dear, going for some invincibility to move forward. John has opted to wind down the clock for rings. I've opted to just go for the Chaos Emerald since it's there. CJ is also winding down the clock. I can't speak for anyone else's strategy too much. I suppose I could for CJ and Geoff as they were here to record theirs, but I decided for mine, if I get the Chaos Emerald, it won't take terribly much longer than just waiting out the clock, and later special stages, if I accidentally run into another one, have easier means of throwing yourself off the end in order to end it early, which the first stage does not. Geoff getting through Act 1 and beginning Act 2 with our beautiful remixes by T. Lopes for the game. All right, John, now midway through the Act 1 mid-boss. I am starting it out. CJ just a little bit behind. All of our runners very close together, with Geoff about 20-25 seconds ahead of the pack at the moment. So we'll see how this pans out. But yes, it would seem that CJ and John's strategy, if they go into special stages, is just to wind down the clock, which did wind up taking less time than actually getting the Chaos Emerald. As you can see, CJ exited his special stage at the same time I did, more or less, despite entering a little bit later. So Geoff now grabbing some speed shoes to make it a little bit further along in the level. Yet everybody getting to our little S-bend of tunnels between myself and CJ. Geoff doing his best to keep his lead going. These speed shoes are definitely going to be helping him here. John with a fire shield as well. Also getting the speed shoes. That's going to give him a good opportunity to catch up to Geoff. Geoff navigating the rare underwater segment, which did not exist in the original Green Hill Zone, but was added for Sonic Mania, as he reaches the first boss of the game, the Death Egg Robo from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. with a few modifications, of course. Now, Geoff has figured out an interesting strategy that I was not even aware of, which is that the legs are not hitboxes. I've been under the assumption the entire time that those are hitboxes. John also facing the boss as Geoff finishes it off, waiting for the egg prison to lower down. There we go. Geoff hits it. John is taking his time getting through a little bit more carefully. It's a good way to, taking some damage as I reach the Death Egg robot. I will admit my strategy. Oh, CJ is also now joining as Geoff encounters Eggman and the Egg Heavies. Is that their name? I feel like I always get that a little bit wrong. Hard-boiled Heavies. But so it might look like I'm doing an awful job at the bosses, at this boss, and some bosses definitely give me a run for my money as Geoff arrives in Chemical Plant Zone. My strategy for this was just to damage boost the absolute hell out of these bosses, try and get it over more quickly rather than being precious with my rings. We'll see how that pans out. So John now arriving in Chemical Plant Zone as well as Geoff works to hang on to his lead here in Act 1. CJ and I basically neck and neck here. I'm about 5 or 6 seconds ahead of CJ, but we're all a good 10 or 15 behind John and a good 30 or so behind Geoff. All right. John reaching an underwater segment as I and CJ both arrive in Act 1 of Chemical Plant Zone. Ooh, some damage on John there as well. All right, Geoff reaching one of our first little vertical segments. Alrighty, here we go. So we've got a lot of... Chemical Plant Zone is one of those early stages where there's a lot of different paths available, and it makes it a little hard to tell exactly who's where, but we'll see how this goes. Geoff working his way through the infamous vertical column from Chemical Plant Zone as CJ takes a spill down into the water? It's not Megamac, I don't think. The Megamac is the blue stuff, isn't it? Geoff nearly drowning for a second there. That was a little dangerous. All right. Moving on forward. As I reach the vertical platform, as Geoff takes a tumble back down, he's going to have to redo our little underwater segment here. We'll see if I can keep my lead over Geoff at this point. And again, it's a little hard to tell where John and I are in comparison to each other. Oh, and Geoff gets squashed. That's not going to be too good. That's actually, I believe, our first death of the game. Oh, my goodness. And gets crunched in a must-be frame-perfect death right there. That was a little bit rough for sure. All right, John reaches the underwater segment as Geoff gets back there for a third attempt. We'll see who can reach the top of there first. As I reach the Act 1 mid-boss, which, from what we can tell, is primarily inspired by the mid-boss from Ice Cap. Oh, Geoff and John both getting to the top around the same time. Mostly inspired by the mid-boss from Ice Cap Zone, Act 1, with a little hint of Metropolis Zone worked in there as well. All right, making quick work of that Act 1 mid-boss as John gets past the little vertical segment, turns around to get the speed boost, and Geoff just moments behind him as CJ gets to the vertical segment, trailing in fourth at the moment, but can do some work to get caught up. As I enter Act 2, I had debated going into this event whether I was going to refer to myself in the first or third person, but I realized that that was going to feel really awkward for a full-length speed run, commentating on myself in the third person. Sounds a little pretentious, don't you think? All right, John in the Act 1 mid-boss. Geoff just moments behind him as John takes his first death. An opportunity for Geoff to claim back the second place position as they work on dealing with the mid-boss. Alrighty, let's see. Geoff taking some damage here. At time of recording, I haven't decided whether I'm going to add in some sound effects for, damage taken or deaths happening. As John, and Geoff, side by side, take down the mid-boss. And actually, because Geoff let the signpost fall first, it looks like he's probably going to get Act 2 started just a tiny bit ahead of John. Just maybe even a second, maybe not even a full second, as CJ gets to the Act 1 mid-boss, and I am in the Portal 2 segment of Chemical Plant Zone, Act 2, with the multicolored goop and the bouncing and the whatnot, as CJ takes down the Act 1 mid-boss, and now everyone is together here in Chemical Plant Zone, Act 2. This is a storied series here on the D-pad, all of us racing against each other in Sonic games, and it seemed like an appropriate way to close out the games. All right, we've got John in the corkscrew segment. We've got a lot of varied... Again, these Chemical Plant Zone levels are a little bit more sprawling and a little bit more choose-your-own-adventure, so to speak. So it can be at times a little bit difficult to determine who is where in relation to one another. I'm pretty sure that so far I'm still in the lead, but it's hard to say. CJ looks like he's actually caught up to me pretty quickly there. Like, he seems like he might actually be in a second. Though, again, it's a little hard to tell for sure. All right. Got everyone making their way through the pipes. All right. We've got a bit of a segment that I think actually gave everyone a little bit of trouble. There's a section here that is just all sorts of goop. And there we go. You have to kind of reverse course a little bit in order to progress. All right, here we go. Things are continuing forward. We've got John going into our green goop segment. It's actually a solid wall. That's interesting. It doesn't look like one. All right, corkscrew segment for Geoff, CJ. Oh, and as I arrive at the Puyo Puyo section, the fun little quirky mini-game boss of Chemical Plant Zone. If anyone watched our original Let's Play of this game back in, 2017, 2018? That was definitely one of the highlights of the overall game, something we did not see coming and was a really great surprise, especially having covered both Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which this is clearly the more direct reference to, as well as, John getting knocked back into the little spiral segment there. And actually, it looks, again, like John and Geoff are basically neck and neck. They are literally on top of each other, with John just getting a little bit of leeway over Geoff. And actually, it looks like CJ is just behind them as well. As I was saying before, we have covered Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, both the Genesis and Game Gear editions, since there are some differences between them, as well as Kirby's Avalanche, which is a licensed port of a different Puyo Puyo game than the Mean Bean Machine games. And there we go, Puyo Puyo cleared as we get through Chemical Plant Zone and make our way over to Studiopolis Zone, the first original zone of Sonic Mania. The first fully original zone. Let's not be unfair about that. So Studiopolis Zone, with our lights, camera, action. There it is. Whoop. Poor Geoff getting knocked. Oh, and CJ, both of them getting knocked into the bonus stage, the blue spheres. Goodness, same time, side by side. They got out around the same time, too, while John takes on the Puyo Puyo boss of Chemical Plant Zone. I'm curious, sometimes internally these bosses have names. They're never really stated on screen, generally speaking. But sometimes files will name them or something. I'd be curious to know if this is literally just called Mean Bean Machine in the game's files. As CJ and Geoff also arrive at the Mean Bean Machine. Let's see which one gets out of it first. This is a rarity in the Sonic franchise where you do need to perform well at a puzzle in order to progress. John has played, in fact, in a D-Pad Rivals episode. We did Kirby's Avalanche, myself versus him. So it is no surprise to me that John is quickly dispatching of Eggman. Just needs this one last drop. Oop, almost. There it is. And John advances through to the Egg Prison to move on from a Chemical Plant Zone. Geoff looking like he's getting fairly close as well. Got a lot of garbage blocks in there. CJ doesn't seem to be doing as well with the garbage blocks, but for some reason, Eggman has decided to stack the vast majority of his beans right on top of each other, making it very easy for that to... And again, CJ and Geoff practically on top of each other. That's incredible. As they pretty much hit the egg prison at the same time as well. They're going to be entering Studiopolis side by side as I get to the mid-boss of Studiopolis Zone Act 1. I say Studiopolis Zone. I feel like a lot of people say Studiopolis, but if you'll recall, in Sonic Adventure, there's a level that takes place in a casino-like setting that is spelled in a similar way. So here we've got Studio and Opolis, a suffix that has been used in a few zones in the Sonic franchise. One that comes to mind is Gigalopolis from Sonic, I think Sonic Chaos? It might have been Triple Trouble, but I think it was Sonic Chaos. I could be wrong. But that game uses Casino and Opolis. And one might think, oh, Casinopolis? But you do hear it in an audio line once in the game, and it is Casinopolis. Even though there is only one O, we'll live with it. But here, would this be Studiopolis, or is it Studiopolis? It's a question for the ages. As I clear the first act mid-boss, as John, Geoff, and CJ continue through the first act on their way to that mid-boss. And as I make my way into Act 2, which has more of a broadcast news sort of vibe to it, though those curtains in the background are sure to be getting waterlogged. Someone really should go check on that. Hopefully there's not too much of a musty mold sort of problem there. I could see that being a bit of an issue otherwise. CJ in the popcorn machine, making his way up as John and Geoff are both exploring near some of the backstage areas. John seeming to have a bit of trouble navigating, while CJ is warping around, and Geoff is utilizing these little pom-pom balloon bouncer things. I was never entirely clear on what those were, if I'm being super honest. All right. A little Robotnik monitor going on there. On Geoff's side, CJ back in the popcorn machine, as Geoff now uses the scissor lift director's chair, and John advances to the Act 1 mid-boss. Now, this one can be pretty tricky. It's actually not, it may look not too serious, but it can be really difficult, especially so right here. John's got a bit of a tricky situation since two missiles move at different speeds. So that can be a little bit of a difficult thing if you hit it the wrong time. Also, the hills come at not very easy to predict patterns. And as such, if you jump at the wrong time, you're going to have a very different trajectory from what you're expecting, which can cause you to land directly on the missile you're looking to avoid. Like that. Just like that. And John runs through the second missile, meaning he's going to have to loop around and try again. CJ using a spin dash to avoid another giant ring, to avoid another special stage. Smart move that will save him a lot of time as I start working on the Studiopolis Zone boss fight. The Weather Machine. Not an official name, it just feels right. And there we go. Act 2 cleared. And it looks like I'm starting to get a bit of a serious lead over the other competitors who are all still in Act 1 of Studiopolis. Though John has an opportunity here to pick up the pace and get himself firmly into the second place slot for the foreseeable future if he can just get this one more missile to take down this guy. I was never very clear on the hard-boiled heavy names. Let's see. Let's see if I can find the name quickly and not distractingly. Probably not. I'm just going to go with probably not. Heavy Gunner, that's the one. It always reminded me of like a police officer or something, but... And of course, as I turned away, John managed to have some trouble with the boss, the mid-boss. Of course, that's how it goes. But here we are with CJ, Geoff, and John all fighting the Heavy Gunner at the same time, while I start working on Act 1 of Flying Battery Zone. This is going to be a bit tricky, Oh, Geoff taking the hit there, getting KO'd. Let's see if we can get through the heavy gunner. All right, John with 2 egg robos left. Geoff has 3. CJ has 2. All right, John gets it down to 1. Let's see if Geoff can make this one clean. And again, the missiles on top of each other really complicate things on Geoff's side. But he gets his hit. CJ gets his hit. There we go. Everyone's down to 1 now, I think. Geoff might have 2 left. Geoff has 2 left. All right. John trying to avoid the red missiles to hit the blue ones. Gets his hit. Geoff also trying to avoid the red missiles. Gets over that one. Reaches the blue, but loses his rings in the process. CJ also taking a hit. All right, so John is down to the last hit again on Heavy Gunner. Geoff has 1 more hit left to go beyond that. And CJ, with no rings and not picking up any with a very unlucky ride, is going to have to get this last hit. John clears the Studiopolis mid-boss as Geoff struggles with a combined missile zone, falls into one, and CJ takes the fall and will have to redo the mid-boss, as is Geoff. Oh my goodness. As I was saying before, this mid-boss can be a real pain. All right, Studiopolis Zone Act 2 for John. I apologize for not paying a lot of attention to my own run. I've always been more interested in watching like everyone who's the closest together in a race, and so John, CJ, and Geoff on the Studiopolis mid-boss just kind of drew my eye. And I'll be honest, even as John moves on to Act 2, my brain is like, man, this race between CJ and Geoff, this is where the heat is right now. As I'm working my way through Act 1 of Flying Battery Zone, ooh, awkward land on those spikes, as John works his way through Act 2 of Studiopolis Zone. All right, we have, another unfortunate hit for Geoff, but he gets his hit in, leaving both CJ and Geoff with 1 more egg robo to take down before the heavy gunner. Oh, that's what I'm talking about, those jumps on the slopes. Oh, again for CJ. They really can mess you up. All right, so CJ now is down to the final hit. Geoff has no rings. CJ has no rings. And now they're both down to the last hit. This is going to come down to the wire for the 2 of them as I reach the mid-boss of Flying Battery Zone, Act 1. Let's see if CJ and Geoff can do it. CJ, oh no! This is going to be tight. Oh my goodness. All right, CJ gets the last hit. Is it going to land in time? It does! CJ is clear. Geoff looking to close out this act. Currently trailing. Jumping for it, getting the 4th one, and we are clear. Geoff taking down the mid-boss. CJ getting through Act 1. Myself getting through Act 1 of Flying Battery Zone. As I enter Act 2, approaching being a full zone ahead. And we're going to see if I can keep up this lead. All right, as Studiopolis Act 2, Flying Battery Act 2. Everyone's in an Act 2 right now. Everyone's looking for their bosses. Let's see how the race goes from here. All right. CJ has found the Gallop Lotto machine. Has to pump out those balls. Get a grip on those balls, and let's see what you get. All right, 20 rings. Not bad. Not bad. Every little bit helps. In speaking with Geoff, he had decided that if he did wind up in any special or bonus stages, he was probably going to try to see about getting some extra lives just to help things out, make sure that he doesn't get a game over. And the game is a little bit unclear, maybe? I don't know how to put it exactly, but in following the model set by the original games, as John reaches the boss of Studiopolis Zone, the counter on the bottom is your total number of lives. It's not your total number of extra lives. If it says Sonic times 1, that's your last life. Lose that, and it's game over for you. So every life really does count. As John is struggling to make those hits, there we go. And he clears Studiopolis Zone and its boss. All right, as I'm making my way, continuing through Act 2, of Flying Battery Zone, where John is about to enter into Act 1. CJ and Geoff both dealing with the maze-like structure of Studiopolis Zone Act 2. There's a lot going on here. All right, here we go. John making his way, and CJ getting thrown into another blue sphere. My goodness. Those things are not forgiving, and they do take up... Thankfully, blue spheres are not the worst when it comes to... You only lose, 5 or 10 seconds, which isn't great, but it's doable. If you get stuck in a special stage, that can be a much bigger problem. CJ and Geoff practically neck and neck right now, literally the same segment of Studiopolis Zone Act 2 yet again. These two have been very close throughout this race. John holding on to second, while I am losing all of my rings and making a terrible example of myself in Flying Battery Zone Act 2, trying to find some rings so I don't... There we go, so I don't immediately die. All right. So let's see how this... Ooh, a nasty hit for Geoff, who also stated his intent to try and get extra lives as often as possible from rings, including perhaps diving a little bit off the beaten path to grab some extra ones when it was worthwhile. CJ as well, shooting for a couple extra rings to get a couple extra lives to make it a little bit less tense and not have to worry about game overs. All right, that rockin' tune, Flying Battery Zone Act 2. Hard to beat those rockin' jams from Sonic 3. T-Lopes does an excellent job with his remixes and reinterpretations, and Flying Battery Zone is no exception as CJ arrives at the Egg TV station for the boss of Studiopolis Zone. Doing a good job of making his way through there, and thankfully he gets pretty lucky, and the first roll he gets is the extreme heat, which brings Eggman's ship down to you, making those jumps a little bit easier. And with no other real obstacles in the way, you can pretty much just sit there and dunk on him for a little while. John taking some risky maneuvers underneath some of these magnetized platforms and obstacles. I don't entirely know what to call those. As Geoff arrives in the Studiopolis Zone boss as well, CJ making his way now to Flying Battery Zone, as John is nearing the end of Act 1, and I am nearing the end of Act 2. John doing a good job. Oh, here we are at the boss, in fact. John doing a good job of working to close that gap. All right, Geoff now clear of the Studiopolis Zone boss, which will now bring all of our racers to Flying Battery Zone, albeit perhaps a bit briefly. All right, now the Flying Battery Zone boss, infamous for creating or causing to be created... Ooh, nasty hit there. Causing to be created the sort of Fanon-esque character of Omelette due to the way that the sprites kind of look to everyone upside down of Robotnik there. Oop, and I will admit, I was having quite a bit of trouble with some of these hits with this boss. I kept getting into an unfortunate position where I kept knocking this boss into the bottom corner just the tiniest bit too low to actually land the hit, or it would hit the floor a few feet in front. So this is a good opportunity for other racers to close this gap and catch up. Making a point of keeping my one ring to make life a little less horrible and not risk death. And again on the floor, as John inches ever closer to the end of Act 1 to continue closing this gap. And again, just short. There we go. That's a good hit, though. All right. John outside on deck, dropping down. Classic Flying Battery Zone maneuver. Meanwhile, Geoff getting through one of the outdoor segments that's more reminiscent of Wing Fortress Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. CJ now navigating through the upside-down electrified area that was added for Sonic Mania. All right, as John arrives at the mid-boss for Flying Battery Zone. I'm starting to get my rhythm together on this boss, but will it be enough to keep John from catching up even further? And John coming at it with the Lightning Shield, something that I did not have for mine, and obviously makes that mid-boss a lot easier to deal with. I was actually kind of bummed that I didn't have one to make that a little bit simpler than it wound up being. The lightning shield, highly recommend for the flying battery zone mid-boss. And there we go. The boss defeated for me in flying battery zone, just as John arrives in Act 2 himself. So John closing that gap. There was a point where I was nearly a full zone ahead, and now we're down to basically one act, so pretty good legwork on John. As I grab one of the hang gliders from Sky High Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Game Gear to move on to Press Garden. All right, let's see where things go from here. Now, we have these little treadmill segments in Press Garden that are a little bit interesting. Their physics are hard to describe. Basically, if you touch one, you will automatically be sent into a roll, but you will also bounce, and the direction of the treadmill will determine how hard you bounce left or right in addition to that. Or alternatively, if you try to go left or right, how much they'll be aided or hindered. So it's a very interesting bit of physics. You can also bounce. You can also use it as a trampoline. So it's a very multifaceted piece of the level design. It's a very interesting segment there. All right, as CJ's grabbing the electric shield as well. And not getting hit by the spikes like I did. Smart move. Pro tip, if you're running this marathon, don't get hit by those spikes. It's better if you don't. John showing what happens if you do hit spikes. And Geoff also in the area next to the lightning shield, proving that he and CJ remain very close together. Now 4 zones into Sonic Mania. 1/3 of the way, just about. All right, and they're making their way. They're getting close. CJ arriving at the mid-boss, with Geoff only moments behind. Although Geoff does not have a lightning shield, so more than likely this is going to be CJ's first real opportunity to put some distance between him and Geoff. As I make my way through Press Garden Act 1, and John continues up atop, nearly dodging a giant ring there myself, while John navigates a segment of Flying Battery Zone that it seems to be kind of a fusion of Flying Battery and Wing Fortress and Sky Base Zone, as well as Wacky Workbench from Sonic CD. CJ arriving in Act 2, and Geoff doing a good job of taking down the Act 1 mid-boss quickly, making it easier for him to catch back up. He actually didn't lose all that much time there. That was some good mid-boss work on Geoff's side. So we'll see how long he starts before, but it's looking like it's going to be about 18 to 19 seconds. All right, about 21. That's close. Oh, sorry. The counter doesn't start until after the logo goes away, so it's more like 24 seconds, it looks like. Okay, not bad. Not too bad. Press Garden Zone also a little bit mazy in its design. You can get lost if you're not paying a lot of attention. And of course, in Act 2, you'll have to try to get frozen at specific parts, but only some parts. If you get frozen in other parts, it actually slows you down. You have to learn which ones are good and which ones are not so good. All right, so John, CJ, and Geoff all in Flying Battery Zone Act 2, while I have moved on to Press Garden Zone Act 1. John should be approaching the boss fairly soon, with CJ a little behind, now in the Wacky Workbench and Wing Fortress Zone-esque area, with Geoff not far behind. Little puzzle segment there to get you some monitors. Doesn't look like CJ is going to be getting that today, as I reach the Act 1 mid-boss of Press Garden Zone. Getting through that pretty quickly, but will John be able to get through the Flying Battery Zone boss faster than I did? My money's on yes. Let's be really honest. I did not do good. I did not do well. I didn't do good or well. This is a good or well nightmare. Something like that, probably. Whoop. Little dangerous maneuver there on my part, trying to deal with the buzzsaw arms of the mid-boss, but clinching it, clearing it, and moving on to Act 2. John moving through the... Oh no! John taking the dive during the Wacky Workbench segment outside. That's going to hurt him. He's going to need to really hustle to catch up now. As CJ and Geoff start closing in on him, we'll see who comes out of Flying Battery Zone first. CJ also doing, I have to say, a really good job of collecting extra lives. Granted, John and Geoff have both died a few times, but CJ has been doing an excellent job of not taking too many falls. I don't know if he's actually died yet. And he's collected a handful of extra lives in the process, so he's feeling pretty healthy right now, working his way through Act 2 of Flying Battery Zone. All right, John, hustling hard, working hard. You know, I've never actually stopped in this little chair area. Those look like electric chairs. I've never actually gotten a good look at that before. That's a little haunting. Oh my goodness. As you can see in Press Garden Zone, we have arrived at one of those frozen areas where you have to get frozen to advance. CJ, Geoff making their way through the trash compactor segments of Flying Battery Zone. And once again, Geoff literally right behind CJ. Merely 2-3 seconds behind. They're practically on top of each other right now. Meanwhile, John fending off the Flying Battery Zone boss. Geoff being a little cautious about the electric segments here. But again, just barely behind CJ. It's actually incredible how tight the race between these two has been so far. Geoff turning around to grab more rings. And we'll see if he can catch back up to Siege. Jumping up to the spider. May the Sonic rise to meet your spider, as they say. It's a very common phrase here at the games. You'll see it on all the t-shirts, on all the mugs and coasters, and a handful of bumper stickers, too. All right, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing workbench segment for CJ. And Geoff, who again, right behind. And John is doing his best on the boss here, but also seems to be struggling. This is not going to help him do much in the way of catching up and moving up from second place. Let's see if he can take down this boss with some speed. If he doesn't, CJ and Geoff may actually catch up with him, which isn't great when you're in second place and looking to advance to first. Oh, and here we go. CJ has arrived at the boss as well. Huge boost for CJ, catching back up and encountering the boss that quickly. As I reach the Heavy Shinobi, the boss of Press Garden Zone, we now have 3 of our 4 racers up against a zone boss. CJ also seeming to have some difficulty with the corners. John also struggling with the corners. Geoff also arriving at the Flying Battery Zone boss. All 4 racers now fighting bosses as I clear mine in Press Garden Zone. Oh, while John has to restart, sending him into 4th place during this race. Oh dear, oh dear. That is not so good. All right, well, this is an opportunity for CJ and Geoff to jump ahead as I get sent out of Press Garden Zone and into Stardust Speedway, marking more than a full zone of difference between myself and the other 3 runners who are all fighting the Flying Battery Zone boss, all in a position to grab onto second place right now and work to advance back up to first. CJ, the first one to take down the boss, now in second place, while John and Geoff continue to fight against this egg spider thing. Egg termite, maybe? I don't know how many legs a termite has. Like, it's not a spider, it's got 6 legs, but, like, you know. Does a termite have 6? Does a termite have 8? I don't know. Once again, Stardust Speedway, bit of a, not exactly a maze. The first act in particular is actually a pretty wide open level. But Act 2 definitely has a few segments that are going to be tricky to navigate. Meanwhile, CJ working his way through Press Garden Zone Act 1, now in a comfortable second place, while John and Geoff continue to struggle against the boss of Flying Battery Zone. This could be trouble. Oh, Geoff taking down the boss, putting him in third place, while John has now slipped and died. Oh, no. John now in an increasingly distant fourth place, as CJ takes control of second and Geoff slips into third. CJ already in Press Garden Zone, Geoff advancing to Press Garden Zone, myself midway through the first act of Stardust Speedway Zone, while John is going to take on the boss of Flying Battery Zone again. I believe this is his third attempt. All right, here we go. Now we're doing some damage. 2. That's good. Getting 2 on the... Oh, but no rings. That's going to be a bit of an issue. Oh, no. Oh, dear. John getting a game over against the boss of Flying Battery Zone means that he is going to have to restart the entire zone. That is not good. That is definitely not good. John has a lot of ground to make up, as now he is a full zone behind, more than technically a full zone behind CJ and Geoff, who are each also a full zone behind me. That's going to be a bit of a problem. Those game overs are no joke, and if they happen against boss fights, you are in real trouble. That's going to be a difficult thing to overcome. John has a lot of work to do here. It's far too early to call it, but it's not going to be easy for sure. So let's see how it goes. John has a chance to catch up. He certainly has a chance for second or third. First place could be a little out of reach, but it's not impossible. Oof, and if he starts taking risks like those, it could be a bit of a problem. As I reach the Act 1 mid-boss of Stardust Speedway Zone, one of these little Firefly lightning bug looking dudes, and work to take him out quickly. But yeah, we're going to have to see how this goes for John. He's going to have a lot to answer for and a lot to make up for in his race here. Oh, for the people of Youbetchastan, in order to make this work. CJ and Geoff still advancing through Act 1 as I'm making my way to Act 2 in the future. Kind of a weird sort of loophole, plot hole thing going on with this game. He goes to the future, but we never really see him come back afterwards. How far in the future is the future? How far in the past is the past? How does that work on Little Planet? Little Planet or Tiny Planet? I feel like I'm living in one of those Mandela effect situations, because I can never for the life of me remember whether it's Tiny Planet or Little Planet, and I don't know why. I can't remember. I think it's Little Planet, and I don't know why I keep thinking Tiny Planet. Maybe because of Tiny Chow Garden. I don't know. Anyway, John making his way through Act 1 of Flying Battery Zone again. CJ and Geoff both competing, jockeying for position. A different sounding sport thing. In Press Garden Zone Act 1. We're going to see how this thing goes from here. Here we go. John taking a nasty hit on the spikes in Flying Battery Zone Act 1. As I do my best to rocket past most of the level structure of Stardust Speedway Act 2. It does feel a little weird to refer to it as Stardust Speedway Zone, seeing as in Sonic CD, if you'll remember, the overall umbrella term for a handful of levels was not actually, I don't think it was actually given a name, or at least it wasn't on screen. I think they're called rounds, which is very weird. And then, instead of calling them acts, the game would call them zones. So in Sonic CD, this level, or the equivalent of it, would be Stardust Speedway Zone 2. Here it is Stardust Speedway Zone Act 2. A little food for thought there as CJ fights the Act 1 mid-boss of Press Garden Zone, being a little more cautious, a little more protective of his rings, although at this point it's unlikely that he's going to get enough rings to get another extra life, though if the signpost lands in just the right way, it is, I suppose, a possibility. He takes down the mid-boss as I arrive at the boss of Stardust Speedway, the infamous Metal Sonic fight. This one's a doozy. This one can be quite difficult as it incorporates elements from the non-special, non-Doomsday Zone final boss of Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic and Knuckles, really. But Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles as well. CJ advancing to Act 2, as I'm doing my best to not take a million hits. Using the drop dash to the best of my ability. We mentioned at the start that all of our racers needed to use Sonic only and the drop dash as John reaches the mid-boss of Flying Battery Zone. Doing a good job of catching up, making up lost time against Geoff at the very least. We got some Silver Sonics from the Game Gear games showing up here as fodder for Metal Sonic. Ooh, missed on that one, but it came back around as we exit Phase 1 of the boss fight of Stardust Speedway Zone as John gets through the mid-boss of Flying Battery Zone. Meanwhile, Geoff looking to get out of Act 1. He's been there for a while. And here we go. Metal Sonic with the Phantom Ruby. This monstrosity can be a bit difficult as it incorporates some of the more frustrating elements of, as you can see, Sonic and Knuckles' final boss. In a sense, I suppose. So in Sonic and Knuckles, when you're fighting the final phase of the final boss, what tends to happen, well, I guess the second to last phase, is a giant Death Egg robot. I don't know if that one has its own name. It might. But as you're fighting it, it is moving to the right, and it does have a cannon that it shoots, but it moves a lot slower. So it's a little bit less difficult to get knocked left and off the platform to your death. After you clear that phase, you're able to fight basically just a fleeing Eggman who's trying to do his best to get away, and then things speed up a bit as Geoff takes down the mid-boss for Press Garden Zone. CJ continuing through Act 2, myself dying yet again in the pit. John in Act 2 of Flying Battery Zone, a full zone behind. CJ and Geoff looking to catch up as we continue squaring off against... I believe this version of Metal Sonic does have a name in the game's code. It might be Metal Sonic Kai, although I think that's just... I don't know. There's a lot of different, taking another L. There's a lot of different, names for updated versions of Metal Sonic, and they tend to confuse me a bit. There's Metal Sonic Kai, there's Metal Sonic Mark II, there's Metal Sonic Neo, I think. I want to say Metal Sonic Neo is the version from Sonic Heroes, but I could be wrong about that. Kai, I think, is the one from Knuckles Chaotix, who doesn't look noticeably different, and then the big red version technically isn't the Kai one. Regardless, I've taken down the boss of Stardust Speedway Zone, one Metal Sonic, marking the halfway point of the game. 6 zones down, 6 more to go. Meanwhile, CJ taking on Heavy Shinobi to exit Press Garden Zone and move into Stardust Speedway Zone. Geoff working his way through Press Garden Zone Act 2. John working his way through Flying Battery Zone Act 2. And I am now entering Hydrocity Zone Act 1, which is always a bit weird to watch because it incorporates elements of Act 2 into Act 1 and vice versa, and we're obviously seeing little bits of Labyrinth Zone and Aqua Planet Zone, I think, from Sonic Triple Trouble with the bubble and stuff. So there's a lot of different... This game does a really good job of blending elements together in order to get what it's going for. CJ still fighting Heavy Shinobi. I was going to call him Egg Shinobi. There we go, clearing it, making his way out of Press Garden Zone, and will be advancing on to Stardust Speedway. John getting knocked into another special stage. That's not good. John appears to be looking for anywhere that he can exit, or it just is generally trying to wear down the clock. Unfortunately, shy of hitting obstacles, nothing is going to make your rings go away faster in a special stage. It is a bummer and a lot of lost time that he cannot afford to lose. CJ now entering Stardust Speedway Zone Act 1, while Geoff continues through Press Garden Zone Act 2, taking a lot of damage Boy, I wish I had 8 eyeballs so I could watch all 4 screens at the same time and give you a really good, active report of everything that's going on. Doing what I can. I don't have a lot of sound cues. That might have been my mistake. I could have, for the commentary, left all of the game audios in and then taken them out in post. Might have made it a little bit easier to pay attention to everybody at once. Oh well, them's the breaks. That's how the internet works. You learn some stuff, you do some stuff, and then you get loves. Because you're older and a little bit incontinent and, you know. Anyway, back to the games. Making my way through Hydrocity Act 1. John, back to the fiery pillars here in Flying Battery Zone. Ooh, almost drowning there in Hydrocity Zone. We're now we're approaching 50 minutes into our race. Continuing to make our way forward. All right, the estimated time that we all kind of were going in and expecting were varying amounts between 2 to 3 hours was kind of our assumed window for this game. And that's mostly going off of previous Let's Plays, I did a speed run of this, 100% speed run of this for Sonic Weekathon, but it's kind of hard to gauge how you would do speed-wise, subtracting the special stages, but also subtracting Supersonic. It makes it a little hard to estimate without something direct to compare it to. So we kind of went at this saying 2 to 3 hours. Geoff, having cleared Heavy Shinobi, is now also moving on to Stardust Speedway Zone Act 1, which now puts John more than a full zone behind CJ and Geoff, who are also a full zone behind me. This is starting to spread out. This race is starting to widen. We're starting to see a bit more separation from among our racers. All right, we're getting around to the Act 1 mid-boss for Hydrocity Zone, as CJ should be starting to approach the Act 1 mid-boss of Stardust Speedway Zone. We've got a little escape segment here that's sort of a combined version of Hydrocity Zone's escape sequences and the Labyrinth Zone boss, where you have to ascend a flooded segment in order to chase down Eggman, though technically you don't really have to chase him down. You can just, not drown and you'll be good, arriving in the Eggmobile to take on Eggman. CJ taking on the Act 1 mid-boss, while Geoff continues to navigate the stage and John works his way through Flying Battery Zone more than 6 minutes into the act. Really going to need to pick up the pace in order to continue here. Getting his lightning shields from the electric chairs. Someone from the Geneva Convention. The Geneva Convention was a document, wasn't it? I mean, it was a meeting, and then it was also a document. Like the name of the document that has resulted. Anyway, he's fighting the boss of Flying Battery Zone. We'll need someone from Switzerland, let's just say that, to come and see what's going on in Eggman's little ship there. With the lightning shield, John no longer has to worry about the electric blasts from the boss as CJ takes down the mid-boss. Ooh, well, so much for the lightning shield. Oh, Stardust Speedway Zone. As I continue to work on the mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone. I believe, actually, the only mid-boss in the game that features Eggman. I could be wrong. I might be wrong, but I think it is the only mid-boss that Robotnik participates in the entire game. All right, Geoff, low on rings. CJ, making it to Act 2. Myself, make it to Act 2 of Hydrocity Zone. John, working his way through the boss of Flying Battery Zone. Going to see how this goes from here. We'll see if the lead will widen or not. It's CJ's game to make at this point. If he wants to take gold, he's going to have to work and grab it. He's going to have to hustle, ladies and gentlemen. And everyone in between and outside as well. All right, CJ grabbing the rocket. A firm grip on that rocket is what you really need in order to blast off appropriately. Geoff doing some careful maneuvering on the platforms. John now over 8 minutes into Flying Battery Zone Act 2, actually becoming a bit of a worry. There we go. I was about to say, in each of these acts in this game, you're only permitted 10 minutes before you time out. That would not be a good place to be. Titanic Monarch Zone is so huge for its second act that when you fight the boss, the timer actually resets. All right, John finally escaping Flying Battery Zone and making his way to Press Garden Zone. He needs to clear the entirety of this to reach Stardust Speedway Zone, where Geoff is in Act 1, CJ is in Act 2, and I am a full zone ahead of that in Hydrocity Zone Act 2. We're starting to see our final positions firm up a little bit as Geoff and CJ approach the halfway point of their runs. Geoff now arriving at the mid-boss of Stardust Speedway Zone. We'll see how he handles this one. John making his way through, dealing with some of the buzzsaws. Geoff dealing with our little lightning bugs, letting that one go to tell the tale. As CJ arrives at the boss of Stardust Speedway Zone, Metal Sonic. Let's see how he does, as he has to race him first in a little segment reminiscent of the Stardust Speedway boss encounter. I wouldn't call it a boss fight exactly, but it's more of a boss encounter from Sonic CD. And once again, as with Stardust Speedway in Sonic CD, a lot of unfriendly terrain to slow you down as Geoff takes down the Act 1 mid-boss, and CJ makes his way to the first phase of the actual battle against Metal Sonic. All right, Geoff is now headed to the future to join CJ in Act 2, though it will be a short-lived reunion, as CJ should be dealing with this relatively quickly and moving on to Hydrocity Zone. You gotta be careful how you defeat the Silver Sonics. If they're not curled up into a ball, when you hit them, they will explode into energy, which you can use to hit Metal Sonic, but the horizontal position that you want to do this is different than where you'd want to be if he curls up into a ball. If he's in a ball, you want to hit him more or less right in the center. Usually works. Every once in a while, it bounces off in a strange way. CJ having some interesting difficulties here. And if they're in the corner and not curled up, that is the correct space to do that. CJ having some real difficulty with the angles here. It's kind of confusing. Having done that run myself, obviously, I didn't have that be an issue. If they were curled up in the center, a quick spin dash was usually the solution there. All right, taking down the first phase of Stardust Speedway as I reach the boss, sort of the phase 1, the prologue encounter for Hydrocity Zone. Geoff making his way through Stardust Speedway Zone Act 2. John making his way through Press Garden Zone Act 1. And we will see how this continues from here. Some fun little blocks. It's funny, those are blocks from... Those little like angry face looking bits are blocks. Oh, CJ taking the fall against Metal Sonic. Those blocks are actually from Hydrocity Zone, but for some reason my brain always makes me think of the more owl looking. They look kind of like owls or angry faces, like angry man faces, I guess, from Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. I'm actually a little surprised they didn't find a way to like mix and match those in here. But regardless, here we go. I have now reached the real battle here, as CJ continues his fight against Metal Sonic, playing it a bit safer than I did, and it seems to be working out generally for the best here. Oop. Doing his best not to get knocked backwards, though he is going to lose his rings. That's going to make this a lot more tense of a fight from here on out. Oh, is he going to do it? Yes! Oh my goodness, a frame-perfect jump from CJ in order to clear the boss. That was a close one, as Geoff arrives at the race with Metal Sonic, and I take down the boss from Hydrocity Zone in order to advance to Mirage Saloon. All right. John continuing through Press Garden Zone Act 1, still needing to make up a lot of space, and honestly, it is seeming like Geoff and CJ are starting to pull away from him, so he's got a lot of work to do in order to make this work. All right, Hydrocity Zone Act 1 for CJ, Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1 for me. We're now moving on. If anyone watched the Sonic Weekathon race, you'll know that if you let the caterpillar that hops out of Heavy Magician's hat hit you at the end of this stage, it will actually soft lock the game. The internal logic, as far as we can tell, assumes that the battle has begun because you took damage, and it won't actually generate the mid-boss itself. Instantiate, I feel, is the better word than generate there. Geoff moving quickly through the first phase of the Metal Sonic fight. Doing a good job working to close that gap again between him and CJ. They got a little bit apart here, but he's got that lead down to only about 2 minutes. If Geoff can make his way through this boss fight with Metal Sonic quickly, then he stands a chance of really making up some lost time. John now fighting the mid-boss of Press Garden Zone, heading to the far right. So this saw-toothed dude will have his blades break if they hit these fully colored-in boxes, the orange and green ones. But if he hits the light blue ones, it won't do anything. John now appears to be going for the damage boost maneuver, although it is not appearing to work out particularly well. Got to use those damage boosts to your advantage. There we go. Get in there. Get some hits. All right, we got one. This could take a little while as Geoff gets through Metal Sonic real quick. Definitely helping him out here. Definitely giving him an opportunity to make up some lost ground and some lost time. As I make my way to the train in Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1. All right. John still playing it careful here against the mid-boss of Act 1 of Press Garden Zone. I guess it's the mid-boss of Press Garden. Less than of Act 1. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen because this is a long race, but during CJ's run, we've discovered something fairly interesting. And it's only doable if you have the combi ring, because it's the only way to have enough rings reclaimable. But in Sonic Mania, if you have more than 100 rings, there's John getting through the mid-boss as I reach the mid-boss of Mirage Saloon Zone as well. If you collect 100 rings, you will get an extra life. If you lose that 100 rings, you apparently can get 100 rings again to get an extra life, and more than that, if the combi ring... So the combi ring divides your rings into 8. So if you had 200 rings, you would get 25. You would have 8 rings that fall out of you that are worth 25 rings apiece. If you have more than 100 rings and you lose them and collect them again with the combi ring, you will gain another extra life. The game resets your extra life counter when you hit 0 rings. It's very interesting. Did not know that. Anyway, John into Act 2 of Press Garden Zone. I'm making my way into Act 2 of Mirage Saloon Zone. Dropping that signpost on Heavy Magician's hat. She loves it. It's all part of the show. It's great. Don't worry about it. CJ making his way through Hydrocity Zone Act 1. Should be approaching the mid-boss fairly soon. Alrighty. And here we go. Mirage Saloon Zone Act 2. Geoff making his way through Act 1 of Hydrocity Zone. Let's see how this goes. All right, CJ in the bubble segments. John working to navigate the icy regions of Press Garden Zone Act 2. It's very dangerous out here. Hard to get your footing. Lots of frozen spikes. Lots of frozen ice spikes that are not going to be very charitable to work with. Let's put it that way. You really don't want to be messing with them too much. I love the ice bumpers, by the way. The way those just break and send you upwards. I'm not entirely sure what John is aiming for here, because he needs to ascend out of this pit in order to continue. You have to jump on these platforms and keep moving. Nope. Still on the spikes. There you go. And he's out. He has made it. Continuing on in Press Garden Zone Act 2. Let's continue. I love the big cartoon guns in Mirage Saloon Zone, though I'll admit this segment had me a little bit stuck for a while. It wasn't 100% clear exactly where I was going, as CJ arrives at the mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone, with Geoff almost exactly 2 minutes behind him, at least on the clock. He entered Hydrocity Zone 2 minutes behind CJ. We'll see if he can catch up, if he can make up any of that lost ground, as I still am just wandering around the same area of Mirage Saloon, deciding to go left and see if that'll do me any good, and it kind of does. Probably the wrong way to go, but ultimately, forward is forward. CJ now using the Egg Mobile against Eggman. Let's see how this goes. All right, and John getting frozen to make his way to the Heavy Shinobi. To his credit, John is making good progress here. He is actually doing a good job with these zones. I would have to look at the individual level splits to say for sure, but I would say that he's actually doing pretty well, given how he is positioned in the race so far. CJ still fighting the mid-boss. Kind of difficult to maneuver with the bombs that you drop, the bombs that Eggman drops. I've now arrived at the Act 2 boss of Mirage Saloon Zone. Getting to see some old fan favorites like Knack the Weasel, a.k.a. Fang the Sniper, as he's known in Japan. We get Bean the Dynamite, / Bean the Dynamite Duck is how I've always known him, but I think he's just Bean the Dynamite. We get Bark the Polar Bear. It's great to see some of these familiar faces. John struggling a little bit with the Heavy Shinobi. Gonna have to get those clean hits, there we go, in order to get through this quicker. But those thrown star enemies from Metropolis Zone of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 are not making his life any easier as he loses his rings, and oh no! Spike coming right for him. Kind of unavoidable at that point. I have beaten the boss of Mirage Saloon Zone Act 2. Moving on to Oil Ocean Zone as CJ clears the Act 1 mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone. Moving on to Act 2. And here we go. My definitely not favorite zone of Sonic 2. Remixed into something a little bit better here in Sonic Mania. I have to give... This is probably, if I had to give a most improved award, it would go to Oil Ocean Zone here in Sonic Mania. It's a much more bearable version of the level. The music is better. Act 2 even adds in a little Studiopolis Zone flair to it that just blends so seamlessly. It's a really incredible... Oh, no! Oh, no! And there we go. I think that might be my... No, it's not my first death. I died a whole bunch against Metal Sonic. Probably my first non-boss death, though. Getting crushed in those pipes here in Oil Ocean Zone is a real danger, and it's very easy to do with how they arrange the spikes around the pipes. It's very devious. John fighting still against Heavy Shinobi as Geoff arrives at the mid-boss fight. Hydrocity Zone. Now, I'm not sure if John is aware, as I wasn't either at the time, these star enemies, when they're on the ground, can actually be defeated. You can... Oh, taking the fall again. You actually can jump on them to defeat them once they're in the ground. Which is interesting because they are not defeatable normally in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, so it may not be the most obvious step to take. Geoff making his way now. He's beaten the Act 1 mid-boss, advancing to Act 2, while John struggles to deal with the mid-boss of Press Garden Zone, so he can head off to Stardust Speedway Zone before heading off to Hydrocity Zone. He is now basically 2 zones behind CJ and Geoff, who are both now in Hydrocity Zone Act 2, who are themselves almost 2 zones behind me up in Oil Ocean Zone. So we're starting to get a pretty wide berth here. John in the 5th zone, myself in the 8th zone, is definitely becoming quite the gap to make up. John does it, though. He clears the boss of Press Garden Zone, so he can finally advance to Stardust Speedway as it is revisited from Sonic the Hedgehog CD. As you can see up top there, I'm starting to get a little bit antsy with my race and getting a little bit impatient, let's say. Oil Ocean Zone, like I said, has never been one of my favorites, so I'm getting a little bit frazzled trying to get there. And normally by this point in the game, we usually have Supersonic, which means that this boss is usually a complete joke. You don't have to worry about getting damaged. You don't have to worry about the height of your jump. He also fades into the background during this. You're just kind of trying to get out of the way there. There it is. Also trying not to get crushed. I don't think you actually can get crushed there. I think it's a trick to get it so that if you jump, you take damage, but it's not so much a crush worry. Getting through Act 1, moving on to Act 2, as John is making his way through the first act of Stardust Speedway Zone, and CJ getting ever closer to the boss of Hydrocity Zone, as Geoff works to catch up. He's fallen a little more behind. He's lost about 15 seconds on CJ, but that's far from impossible to catch up. as I get to Oil Ocean Zone Act 2, which adds some elements from Sandopolis Zone Act 2. Sandopolis, another one with the Opolis ending on it, actually. We've got Metropolis Zone. We've got Sandopolis Zone, Casinoopolis, Studiopolis Zone, Gigalopolis. We got a whole bunch of them. But yeah, adding the little pole switch, I don't entirely know what to call that, from Sandopolis Zone Act 2. In Sandopolis Zone, the idea is it keeps you from being attacked by ghosts because that turns on the lights, I think, is how that works. Whereas here, it is getting rid of the pollutant smoke, I guess is the best way of putting that. If the smoke is allowed to fully appear, then you will start wicking away rings. It will not kill you, but you will steadily lose rings one by one. As CJ takes on the first phase of the Hydrocity Zone boss, I make my way a little bit further in Oil Ocean Zone Act 2. John making his way through Stardust Speedway. Getting hit by the spiked balls, not so good. You want your balls to be not spiked if you can. And if they are spiked, you probably don't want to run into them or run into things with them. It's not advised. The official doctors here at the games, and John, oh dear. John learning right up close that those dash panels in Stardust Speedway Zone are bidirectional. As I take another death in Oil Ocean Zone, and CJ faces the actual boss of Hydrocity Zone. John entering the Donkey Kong Country barrel-style segment of the level, trying to avoid the spikes, but they really are all over the place in this stage. CJ working to finish off the boss of Hydrocity Zone. Oh, and gets caught in the turbine again. So the boss here, the mid-boss from Act 1 is sort of an inverted version of the fight from Act 2 of normal Hydrocity Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, whereas the boss of Hydrocity Zone here is sort of a repurposed version of the mid-boss from Act 1 of Hydrocity Zone, but it moves faster, and it gets the turbine started faster. I think the actual machine itself is larger, too, so it's just bigger in every way. CJ with a great little jump off the wall to hit the egg prison a little early, save himself some time, as he is preparing to leave Hydrocity Zone and make his way to Mirage Saloon Zone. All right. Here we go. I believe I'm actually coming up on the boss of Oil Ocean Zone. Nope. Every time I see that segment, I think it is, because there's a lot of pipes in front of everything. As I'm thinking about the boat and decide against it, continuing forward. John moving through Stardust Speedway Zone. CJ now in Mirage Saloon Zone. Geoff getting close to the end here of Hydrocity Zone, now facing the boss battle. Still doing a pretty decent job of keeping pace with CJ. He's only around 2 minutes behind. This boss battle might put him a little further behind than that. I'm getting aggressive on the boss of Oil Ocean Zone, deciding to throw caution to the wind, diving in there, seeing what we can do. All right. We've got John up against the mid-boss of Stardust Speedway Zone, while I'm fighting the boss of Oil Ocean Zone, and Geoff is fighting the boss of Hydrocity Zone, which is a complicated sentence that wouldn't have made any sense prior to 2017. And we're clear of the Oil Ocean Zone boss, which means that I will now be moving on to the last quarter of this game, entering Lava Reef Zone. John getting through Act 1 of Stardust Speedway Zone. He'll be moving on to Act 2 as Geoff gets ready to take on the boss of Hydrocity Zone. As CJ works through Mirage Saloon Zone, which is not only a level design send-up to Sky Chase Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but also, if you listen carefully, there's actually a motif from Sky Chase Zone that makes its way into the Act 1 theme of Mirage Saloon Zone. It's a very nice touch. Well-crafted T-Lopes. All right, John making his way through Act 2. Here in the future of Stardust Speedway. as I am getting through Lava Reef Zone Act 1. CJ approaching the end of Act 1 of Mirage Saloon Zone. And Geoff nearly... Ooh, those spikes for CJ. And Geoff nearly done with the boss. Oh, dear. That's going to cost him right there of Hydrocity Zone. This boss is definitely a lot harder. There we go. A lot harder without the insta-shield. The insta-shield makes this boss substantially easier to fight, because you can insta-shield and hit him through his little rocket spinning thing that he does there. You don't have to worry so much about damage. If you take damage, it's fine, because you can get a couple extra hits in there anyway. However, Geoff now making his way to Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1, as CJ is now fighting the mid-boss of Mirage Saloon Zone. John continuing to make his way through Act 2 of Stardust Speedway, as I am around a minute and a half into Lava Reef Zone Act 1. All right, Geoff is a little under 3 minutes behind, but this mid-boss could make or break some of that difference. If you're a little unlucky, which it seems like CJ is right here, this worm is just going to keep diving into the background and the foreground and not make any lateral moves. And that can make it a lot trickier. The timing on there is definitely more difficult than when he moves left or right across the entire screen. It does make the mid-boss fight a bit chunkier of an experience. That is absolutely the case. All right. So let's see. John has now arrived at the Stardust Speedway Zone boss. Oh, as Geoff takes an unfortunate dive in Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1, that's probably going to erase the time that he had a chance to catch up here as CJ fights the mid-boss. It's not impossible for him to catch up, but that is going to hurt his chances quite a bit as CJ takes down the mid-boss. Oh, as Geoff takes an unlucky kill again against one of our little Aztec Eagle situations there, which now puts CJ pretty firmly and a full act ahead of Geoff. John continuing to deal with Metal Sonic, but seems to be trying to fight him directly. Oh, that's not how it works, John. No, keep moving. Do not engage. You're going to fight him later. You don't want to fight him yet. CJ, oh, geez. Oh, boy. Dash panel not doing him any favors once again. CJ now arriving in Act 2 of Mirage Saloon, as Geoff is working to avoid the Eagles and the little droppy boys, whatever you want to call them. John amazingly does make it up to the first phase battle. I was really worried that an errant dash from Metal Sonic was going to do him in there, but he actually makes it through with some skillful platforming at the 0 hour. But he is going to have to deal with the Silver Sonics in order to advance. As I make my way to the first act mid-boss. Oh, and Geoff restarting Act 1 again. These restarts are really going to cost him. I'm working on the Act 1 mid-boss for Lava Reef Zone, which is a repurposed version of the mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone itself. Actually, even as I say that, is that even true? I think you see that thing in the stages, but do you ever actually fight it for real? Because the actual mid-boss is... Oh, no, and John gets knocked out as well. Oh, and he has to redo the race segment, too. That's not going to be good. The mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone in Sonic and Knuckles is the two big wiggly knobs that we saw already in Oil Ocean Zone, along with the hand that will make a comeback for the Death Egg Zone boss. But I don't think the little spiky dude, because he falls into the lava and gets destroyed, I think. Anyway, Lava Reef Zone Act 2. We're now beginning this as Geoff is working to make his way past his best spot in Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1. CJ making his way through Mirage Saloon Zone Act 2. Moving very quickly, in fact. John looking to make his way out of this battle with Metal Sonic. It's given everyone a bit of a hard time in this run. Oh dear, Geoff out of rings again. Gonna need to pick up something before somebody... There we go. Gets a hold of you. All right. John still struggling a bit with the fight here. He's gonna need to figure out the mechanics quickly if he wants to have a chance of taking down Metal Sonic. I don't know if he's noticing that he's not doing any real significant damage here. That's not going to be very good for him. Sooner or later, he is going to have to figure out how the energy balls work. As CJ, fighting the boss of Mirage Saloon Zone, making his way through there, up against Heavy Magician, taking on fan favorites who, alongside Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, were seen on missing posters in Sonic Generations. Mighty and Ray, of course, being added back into the fray as playable characters in Sonic Mania Plus, as John is going to have to take on Metal Sonic again, now with his last life. This is getting very dangerous. John already has a game over under his belt that has caused him to fall significantly behind. He is at this point, essentially 2 zones behind. He's a zone and a half behind Geoff, as they're both in their boss fights. CJ has finished his boss fight for Mirage Saloon Zone, so he's going to be moving on to Oil Ocean Zone. So he's now more than 2 zones ahead of John. So once again, we're seeing our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place runners all spreading out but holding on to their positions. CJ has managed to pull ahead of Geoff by a pretty significant margin at this point, and it's only going to get harder as the race goes on to keep that lead, or sorry, to make up that difference between them and take down CJ's lead. John still, there we go, starting to at least work the energy balls, though it doesn't seem that he's figured out the spin dash variant of this attack. Still just trying to jump on them right away. I don't think he's quite noticing the correct maneuver here. It's not looking great. Geoff making his way through. Oh, John, very, very lucky with that. That could have been much, much worse. He's still going for the jumps. Geoff making his way through the Act 1 mid-boss of Mirage Saloon Zone. Oh, boy. This is getting tight. John is going to have to be incredibly careful with the boss here. Ooh, CJ narrowly missing getting squashed in Oil Ocean Zone. The old fire pipe trap. Geoff starting Mirage Saloon Zone Act 2 as John collects some rings and advances on to the actual boss fight of Stardust Speedway Zone. He's only got 1 chance, so he had better be on his game. Let's see how it goes. Immediate damage up against the Giant Metal Sonic as I start taking on the boss of... the boss of Lava Reef Zone. John struggling there. I do appreciate that the boss of Lava Reef Zone, that fight takes place in, essentially, Hidden Palace Zone. Perhaps not in name, but... Oh no! John taking the dive behind Metal Sonic, causing him to get a 2nd game over. This is looking pretty grim for John. Definitely not good. As he enters back in, he will have to restart Stardust Speedway as CJ once again manages to just barely dodge getting crushed in the fire pipe trap. As I take down Lava Reef Zone's boss and advance to Metallic Madness Zone. Anyone watching the Sonic CD run of Sonic Weekathon will know how I feel about Metallic Madness Zone, at least in terms of its finishability in certain circumstances. CJ up against the mid-boss of Oil Ocean Zone, while I enter Metallic Madness, the 2nd to last, the penultimate level of this game. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Becky, look at her butt. But CJ moving on to Oil Ocean Zone Act 2 as Geoff arrives at the boss of Mirage Saloon Zone himself. Geoff doing a solid job of keeping up. It would be easy to start falling further and further behind, but honestly, Geoff is doing a pretty good job here, keeping pace and generally doing okay. The deaths have been hurting him, but he hasn't been falling apart. John really struggling to keep up at this point, which is perhaps one of the bigger surprises of the games. If I had to put my money down, I would have thought that him and CJ would have been much closer in the overall race. All right, as CJ jumping into one of our submarines, the exterior being designed after the subs of Marina Madness in Knuckles Chaotix. A rare Knuckles Chaotix reference here. There's that. There is the Combi Ring. And, of course, Mighty the Armadillo as well in Sonic Mania Plus. Geoff continuing to take on the boss and defeating her. Clearing Mirage Saloon Zone, moving on to Oil Ocean Zone. Geoff and CJ both about to be in Zone 9 of 12. Making it interesting. Making it very, very interesting. Let's see how this goes. All right. Here we go, here we go. Working our way through Metallic Madness Zone. I'm not a big fan, generally, of Sonic CD's level design. I think it's very messy, and it doesn't really give you a clear idea of directionality. Nothing to the extent of Knuckles Chaotix, obviously, but it's still a little rough. There's a lot of diagonal edges that make things a little awkward. So level design, I've never been all that huge on with Sonic CD. But Metallic Madness generally stands out, apart from all of the other levels in my mind, as one that is actually very well done, very tightly put together, some fun gimmicks. Sonic Mania builds on that and creates some really interesting things. I love that we're going into the background. I love that we will eventually be shrinking, and it's a different kind of scenario. They kind of play the same way, basically, but it's just a little fun bit of flair. How can you hate that? John fighting once again with the mid-boss of Stardust Speedway Zone, as CJ finds himself struggling with the fog, the pollution in Oil Ocean Zone Act 2, as he gets to the final sub, as I reach the final zone pylons here in Metallic Madness Zone Act 1. John clearing the mid-boss once again for Stardust Speedway, as I am taking on the mid-boss of Metallic Madness. Geoff making his way through Oil Ocean Zone, discovering firsthand the weirdness of Oil Ocean Zone just in general. All right. John arriving in Act 2 of Stardust Speedway once again. This is going to be a bit of a rough ride if you cannot pick up the pace in a serious way. Now, this is an any percent race, which generally means you don't really want to waste time doing things like getting Chaos Emeralds. It's not against the rules. If anyone wanted to go for Chaos Emeralds, they were more than welcome to. However, I can't speak for the others, but my mental math on this was Sonic 2, those special stages are usually around like 3 minutes long, maybe. Sonic 3, like 2, maybe 3 minutes, and it really depends on the level. They're quick, and if you played them enough times, you start to get comfortable with them, and you can kind of, oh, John going into a bonus stage, actually. Speaking of the special stages, Blue Spheres, as I get through the mid-boss of Metallic Madness Zone. If you have those more or less memorized, or at least have played them enough times, you're going to have a just sort of a natural feel for, how to get through them very quickly. Sonic Mania, on the other hand, there's a lot of mitigating factors that can really slow you down, and those can last for upwards of 5 or 6 minutes if you're not careful. So doing that 7 times, that could give you an extra 40 minutes of runtime if you're not very careful. And while it will give you access to Supersonic, which will make you faster, the question is it going to make you 40 minutes faster? My assumption there is a pretty strong no. Unless you got, the first 7 special stages, you're probably not going to make up too much time by getting Supersonic. So I opted not to go for Chaos Emeralds. It looks like nobody else went for them as well. And we'll see how the rest of this turns out, as CJ is up against the boss of Oil Ocean Zone. Geoff up against the mid-boss of Oil Ocean Zone, taking him down, making his way to Act 2, still holding tight at only being roughly an act behind CJ. Doing pretty good of keeping the pace up, especially given, historically speaking, John and CJ and I are all, lifelong Sonic players, and we've been doing this whole Sonic series. Geoff, not as immediately accustomed to the game. I'm sure he's played a bit here and there, but I don't believe he's played to the extent that the other 3 of us have. So he's doing an exemplary job here. especially keeping tight with CJ. Unfortunate death right there as CJ makes his way into Lava Reef Zone. As I'm working my way through the drop spikes of Metallic Madness Zone. All right, as John arrives once again at the Metal Madness fight. Sorry, not Metal Madness, the Metal Sonic fight of Stardust Speedway. Let's see if he can keep things going. Here we go, John. You can do it. I believe in you. All right, Geoff learning the effects of the smoke, watching his rings tick down one by one. Shields don't help you. And in fact, I believe even with Supersonic, your rings will go down faster in the smoke. I may be wrong on that, but I seem to remember that being the case. John taking the energy beam approach to fighting Metal Sonic. Still going for him right in the middle. I'm very surprised that he's still going with that tactic. Now I am up against the boss of Metallic Madness Zone, which is a neat little coin-op variant on the Metropolis Zone boss from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I think it's a cute little thing there, and a couple Amy dolls thrown in the mix for extra flavor. I think that's kind of adorable. And there we go. Once you get all 8 of the toys knocked out of there, Eggman goes away, and it's up to you to clear out the rest of the riffraff. Whoop. Having some trouble there with the Eggmobile from Emerald Hill Zone. We got rid of the Marble Zone ones pretty quickly. All right, CJ working his way through Lava Reef Zone Act 1. John making his way pretty cleanly to the second phase of the boss of Stardust Speedway Zone. All right, here we go. We'll have to see how this goes. Geoff still struggling with the Smoke and Oil Ocean Zone. That's going to be a problem if he doesn't keep an eye on it. All right, John doing... Oh, dear. I was about to say he's doing much better this time, but unfortunately looks like he's going to have to take on that second phase again for Stardust Speedway Zone. As I make my way to the final level, it's actually interesting that we've got Stardust Speedway Zone where we're seeing it in one spot and we're seeing it from another angle for Metallic Madness Zone. That's kind of cute. It actually does make sense within the game as the Titanic Monarch is being built on the little planet. And here we go. Titanic Monarch Zone, the final level of the game for me with a pretty hefty lead, if I do say so myself. Over CJ in second, making his way through Lava Reef Zone Act 1. Geoff in Oil Ocean Zone Act 2. John has defeated Metal Sonic and has cleared the halfway point of the game. Currently in 4th place. At this point, it may not be skill that gets him back to 3rd, but it would need to require Geoff making some pretty significant missteps in order to allow Geoff to make up the time needed, as he is currently nearly 3 full zones behind Geoff, who is about an act behind CJ, who is about 2 zones behind myself. So there is a lot of work to be done here on John's side if he wants to have any chance of catching up. All right. Titanic Monarch Zone, of course, being notorious for being an exceptionally long set of acts in Sonic Mania. Even in Sonic Mania, where all of the stages routinely take several minutes, if you've played, the Genesis games, a lot of those levels can be cleared in under a minute or so if you really know your way through. Sonic Mania, it's doable for some, but honestly, a lot of the levels can take 3, 4, 5 minutes apiece. Titanic Monarch Zone is perhaps the one zone in the game where you run the serious risk of getting a timeout, even if you're playing relatively quickly. So it's something to watch out for sure. It's nice that they make sure that your time resets for the boss battle. That's all I'm saying. CJ up against the mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone. Geoff getting closer to the boss of Oil Ocean Zone. Still dealing with the smoke. All right, John working the boats in Hydrocity Zone. It's probably... Hydrocity Zone must feel like a bit of a comfort after Stardust Speedway, where John spent a pretty significant amount of time. Again, I don't have the splits in front of me, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if it was about 20 to 30 minutes just in Stardust Speedway Zone. We're now a little over an hour and a half in. We're approximately 93 minutes into this run. Actually, yeah, no, that's about right, 93 minutes. I almost counted off of my audio, which would have included my little introduction there, so that wouldn't have been right. All right. So John doing what I think all of us tried to do, which is like, oh, do the little spinny blades actually work here? It's like, well, they do, but not enough to be helpful here. Geoff taking a hard hit in Oil Ocean Zone. The submarines, I think you can avoid all of them. I'm not entirely positive. You can avoid most of them. You may only have to do one of them to actually get through the entire zone. CJ making great time through Lava Reef Zone. Like the back of his hand. He's doing really well here. Geoff making solid time with Oil Ocean Zone. John moving quickly through Hydrocity Zone as well. He's going to need to really rock it to stand a chance of catching up, even if Geoff begins making mistakes. As I continue working my way through Act 1, even still, at almost 3.5 minutes in, I'm really still a decent ways away from the mid-boss, if memory serves. I think I still got a ways to go here. So, strap in, folks, because it ain't over yet. Not to mention, Titanic Monarch can be kind of a bastard also, and the final boss can be a bit of a pain. You have to fight Eggman while dealing with the hard-boiled heavies at the same time, and some of them, like Heavy Shinobi, are a serious pain in the ass to deal with. It's a little bit... CJ actually figured out an interesting trick that you'll probably be seeing later in this run. We'll have to see. Geoff now arriving at the boss fight of Oil Ocean Zone, getting some good, clean hits right away. That's a great way to start that fight. CJ making his way through the second act of Lava Reef Zone. Moving smoothly. John navigating the underwater passages of Hydrocity Zone, Act 1. We'll see if he can make up any time on his way through what remains of the game as I get to the mid-boss of Titanic Monarch Zone, a repurposed version of the mid-boss from Death Egg Zone in Sonic and Knuckles. I am just damage boosting like a fiend here. Take the hit, keep moving. Geoff now finished with Oil Ocean Zone, about to enter Lava Reef Zone. Just a few minutes behind CJ, as I am working on dealing with the mid-boss of Titanic Monarch. All right, Geoff arrives by crashing into Lava Reef Zone. Got to get moving before that sub sinks, and you lose those 6 rings you start with. I've cleared the mid-boss. Moving on to the final act of the game. John inching closer to the mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone. Geoff playing around with the big metal legs. I do like the big metal legs. I believe those actually originate from, oh boy, Wacky Workbench? I think those are a Sonic CD thing, aren't they? I could be wrong. They remind me of Sonic CD. And now for the infamous, as John gets to the mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone, I reach the infamous Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2, where after a very short introduction, we will quickly be finding ourselves in a sort of choose-your-own-path through the level style deal. By choose-your-own-path, I guess I more mean choose-your-own-order. As we get here, there are 4 different areas that must be cleared in order to approach the final boss. You cannot get to the final boss until you've cleared each of these 4 segments, which can be played in any order. There does not seem to be a meaningful difference to any of them, depending on the order you do them in, so it's really dealer's choice. CJ now approaching the boss of Lava Reef Zone, as Geoff is still in the active volcanic portion of the zone. John making his way through the auto-scrolling segment to make his way to Robotnik's sole mid-boss appearance in the game. Here we go. He's going to have to move. There we go. Very close. No Pinchy da Vinci. Not today. I'm having a bit of a struggle here with the infinite looping pit. I'm getting, as you can see again, a little bit impatient. Probably should be a little more careful here if I say so myself. There we go. I've also, at this point, hit the checkpoint, so I don't know what I'm being so nervous about. All right, moving forward. John fighting against Eggman. CJ fighting against, what is that, Heavy Rider? The boss of Lava Reef Zone. Geoff in the segment of Lava Reef Zone that's got a little bit of Endless Mine worked in, which was itself a level whose design was based on Lava Reef Zone in the first place. right, we are continuing to push on through. Here we go. Making our way through CJ, taking down the boss of Lava Reef Zone and advancing to Metallic Madness Zone. There we go. All right. I am now, I believe, 2 segments into Titanic Monarch Zone, Act 2. Halfway through, 2 more to go before I can fight the final boss and end my run of Sonic Mania. Here we go. As CJ enters Metallic Madness Zone, we'll see how well it treats him moving forward from here. John struggling a bit with the Hydrocity Zone mid-boss, though really, who among us has not struggled with this boss? It is a pain, and it's a little bit awkward to time. And if you can't get the bomb strategy down properly, it's just gonna be like a whole thing. All right, here we go. You can do it, John. I believe in you. The problem, as you can see, is that the bombs, when they get sucked up by the vortex, actually climb the water faster than Eggman does. It almost seems like he's trying to hit Eggman with his own bombs, which is an interesting strategy. Nope, it's not really working out super well for him, though. CJ continuing to work his way through Metallic Madness Zone. Oh, I'd only made it through 1 segment. Now I'm 2 segments into Titanic Monarch Zone. Here we go. Geoff stomping his way through Lava Reef Zone. I love those metal legs. I really do. Those things are so sweet. I think that's the spot where they are forced to end. Though if you let them sink too far, they will become unusable. Now reaching a climbing segment in Lava Reef Zone that I didn't even know existed until today, until this run. I had no idea that there was that there was a scrolling danger floor segment in Lava Reef Zone in Sonic Mania. That's incredible. It's great. John now up against the mid-boss again of Hydrocity Zone. As I'm racking up some rings, getting some extra lives. You never know when you're going to need them. Into the 4th and final leg of Titanic Monarch Zone, Act 2. Inching closer to victory and the final gold medal. All right, here we go. John trying to deal with the bombs here. Not being very aggressive on Eggman. Not noticing perhaps that it is a little difficult to aim. I will give him that. It was a struggle for me as well. And if they happen to hit Eggman, they thud and disappear regardless of whether there was a bomb below it or not. Geoff now fighting the mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone, continuing to make his march forward. At this point, about a full zone, a little under a full zone behind CJ, so he is slipping a little more behind, but frankly, keeping a pretty good pace, all things considered. All right, John working on his mid-boss here. Let's see how CJ does against the mid-boss of Metallic Madness Zone, our repurposed final zone pylon pillar thing Mark II. Geoff taking a dangerous attempt there, but it succeeds, getting him through Act 1 and into the 2nd act as I make my way to the final boss of Sonic Mania. Geoff entering Lava Reef Zone Act 2 through a kind of hard to not notice transition there that was a little bit weird. That was not there in Sonic and Knuckles. It was actually much smoother in that game. It's one of the rare moments of I feel like they could have done that better. John clearing the mid-boss of Hydrocity Zone. Me, thankfully, having the lightning shield is making dealing with these lightning arms a lot easier. And unfortunately, losing it there means I'm going to have to be more careful for the remainder of this fight. Now, unlike nearly every boss battle or even final boss in the Genesis games, the final boss here will take 16 hits to clear, 4 for each of his 4 arms. CJ getting through the mid-boss of Metallic Madness Zone. And now, making my way... Whoop, not quite done with the 3rd arm. Getting close, though. All right, holding on to my last ring. All right, only 4 hits to go. Maybe 3. I think it's 4. The best thing to do when the hands come out is to jump directly into them. They will get you. As far as I'm aware, there is no way to avoid those. And there is, as it turns out, an interesting way to avoid the Egg Shinobi, but it's a little bit unexpected. Now I'm in real trouble as I have no ring. There we go. Get that back before things go south. All right, we got Baby Andrew Sonic on CJ's screen. And here we go. I'm trying to see if I can finish this off. Where are we at? One more hit separates me from victory. Here we go. Oh, there it is. For the gold with a time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 11.1 seconds. Bringing home the final gold for Imperium Ludum. Sonic and Knuckles will now be escaping with their lives as CJ takes a fall shortly after Geoff here in Lava Reef Zone Act 2. As we now transition over to CJ's audio with him being our second place runner. Let's continue. Now we've got John racing through Hydrocity Zone Act 2, trying to make up space. Geoff working his way through Lava Reef Zone, still keeping no more than a zone, I guess a little more than a zone, but basically no more than a zone behind CJ, who is coming down to the end of Metallic Madness Zone, and will soon be in Titanic Monarch Zone, the final level of the game, looking to secure a silver medal for the final event, the Marathon. Here in Sonic Mania, here at the games, it's exciting. Get pumped. Get ready. Where else are you going to get 4 games of Sonic Mania in 2 hours? Exactly. I do like in Hydrocity Zone, where John's at right now, that Sonic Mania actually kind of mixed in a little bit of stuff. Normally when you have the little spinning, what do they call those in ancient Greek architecture? Those pillars, basically. Normally, when you're dealing with those in the spikes, they just spin and move horizontally, and you kind of have to jump over them. It's a little bit of a stiff sort of platforming challenge. I like that they added some vertical ones here, too. I think that does a lot to make it more interesting, I guess, than it would have been otherwise. Speaking of, though, John is here against the Hydrocity Zone boss, and CJ has just arrived at the Metallic Madness Zone boss. Our little Tinker Toy parade here. It's interesting that they went with Marble Zone for the Sonic 1 representative. I guess, ironically, despite the fact that so much of this game is kind of a send-up to the classics, including the ones that always get attention, Green Hill Zone and, Amy Doll grabbing CJ. Having Marble Zone get some representation for once is kind of a nice change. I'll put it that way. Geoff slipping into a special stage and deciding to go for trying to get a bunch of rings, not so much for the sake of beating the special stage as much as, I believe, trying to secure some extra lives, continues, what have you. I don't even remember if there are continues in this game. I don't remember. It would be worth some extra lives, presumably, but John taking a nasty hit from the Hydrocity Zone boss. Geoff getting stuck in the special stage. CJ, no rings, but so close to beating the Metallic Madness. Oh, no! And the Amy Doll gets him. Oh, that one hurts. That one really hurts. The Amy Doll, for what it's worth, there are a few ways to deal with it. In my experience, the best way to do it is to just spin dash. You don't have to risk, because it'll move as you get close to it. It's like a dinosaur, you see. It's got all this motion-based vision. And if you get close to it, that's when it activates. But if you get far enough away, it'll just kind of ignore you. So you have John still pushing on the Hydrocity boss, but still standing his last life. Geoff actually securing the Chaos Emerald, hoping to get a little bonus there. CJ is just swarmed right now. Oh my goodness. John trying to keep himself from a third game over. He can just hang on to a couple rings, a couple more hits. He should. There it is. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Excellent job from John. getting out of Hydrocity Zone. Oh dear, CJ with no rings and one Amy doll. Can he do it? Yes, he can. All he's got to do now is knock Eggman out of his little... There's a name for that. Oh, no! Oh, God, one of the little energy balls got him. Whoa, wow. Near simultaneous stage starts there from John and CJ. John entering into Mirage Saloon Zone. While I feel like Mirage Saloon is like a really difficult to say phrase quickly with good enunciation. While CJ re-enters Metallic Madness Zone Act 2 to re-fight the boss. Geoff pushing his way through Lava Reef Zone, hoping to close the gap between himself and CJ. We'll have to see how it goes. Usually, Lava Reef Zone Act 2 is actually, I mean, in my experience anyway, it feels like Lava Reef Zone Act 2 is usually a bit more forgiving than Act 1. Oof, that section always, like, makes me cringe. Makes me feel like you're never going to make it through there, but I don't know if I've ever actually seen anyone get killed there, so must be all in my head. I don't know. But it always feels like Act 2, maybe it's because usually by that point, I usually have Supersonic, so, like, with Supersonic, Lava Reef Zone Act 2 especially is just kind of a joke. Like, there's almost nothing that can really hurt you there. In Act 1, there's a lot of stuff that can crush you. Act 2 doesn't have much of that, if anything. It's great for the boss battle, too. In Sonic and Knuckles, that is. In this game, I think it's a little bit different. Like, Act 2 is definitely more fleshed out in a big way. CJ looking to close it, and there we go. Gets it done. Gets through Metallic Madness. Excellently done. CJ is now moving on to the final zone. Titanic Monarch Zone, not to be confused with Final Zone. Its own final zone. Especially since we already got Final Zone as part of the mid-boss encounter there. Actually, hey, there we go. Oh! Geoff getting nailed there. That's an unfortunate one. Big oof. And actually, yeah, so I'd mentioned before that Hydrocity Zone seemed to be the only mid-boss where Eggman got involved. In Metallic Madness he does too, because he's got the Final Zone machine. I don't really know what to call that. So it's interesting that the 2 times that Eggman shows up as a mid-boss battle in this game, it's because of callbacks to boss battles specifically that existed in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I guess the specific games don't really matter for where it came from, but it's just kind of interesting to me that they do that. And I guess it would make sense, too, that Eggman would show up as remixed boss fights from other games. Just, I don't know, just sort of interesting to me. Because there's other remixed boss ones, and even in Hydrocity Zone, his boss battle is a remixed mid-boss fight. So, I don't know, food for thought in many different flavors. CJ pushing his way through Titanic Monarch Zone, making his way through. John doing his best. There we go. Getting through the mid-boss of Mirage Saloon Zone. Signpost should be coming down shortly. And they'll be moving on to crashing his plane and getting into Act 2. Geoff, I think, is getting... Yeah, there we go. Geoff is right at the brink of the boss fight for Lava Reef Zone. And he'll be moving on to, excuse me, not Mirage Saloon, Metallic Madness following that. All right, here we go. Let's see how this goes for Geoff. All right, nice clean hit to start it off. And another. He's doing a pretty good job of getting these nice little clean ones in there. The fire shield obviously helps for these little fire spitters that are going on up top. All right, more clean hits. This is all pretty solid. No real mistakes halfway through the fight. CJ working his way through Titanic Monarch Zone Act 1. John making his way through Mirage Saloon. Oh! And there's a hit on Geoff that's going to make this a little... Oh, no! And another one, too. It's going to make it a little bit tougher to deal with anything going on in the middle of the stage. Oh, these hits are not going to be helping him out. He needs to make up ground. It's not impossible to come back from behind and get the silver, but he's going to need some perfection out of his gameplay to make it happen. And to be frank, CJ will probably need to make a few huge mistakes here in order to buy Geoff the time he needs to strike. All right. So, Geoff clearing the boss fight for Lava Reef Zone. He'll be moving on to Metallic Madness. What is normally the final zone in Sonic CD, I believe. Right? Is there a separate final zone there? Why am I suddenly struggling with this? I don't know why all of a sudden it's just like, wait, I'm second-guessing myself. This is not good. Yeah, it's the final one. Okay, I'm not insane. Just making sure. All right, so Geoff now making his way through Metallic Madness Zone. CJ continuing through the long and treacherous Titanic Monarch Zone. John about to hit the the boss fight from Mirage Saloon. Making pretty good time. He got here in less than 2 minutes. That's actually pretty solid. I think, unfortunately, at this point, it is probably too late. Oh, there's CJ getting his second. We talked about this earlier. The get 100, lose them, get the 100 back, and it counts as another extra life thing. Whatever that would be called. The re-life. I don't know. But there it was in action. Having a lot of damage taken on all fronts here. Everybody needs to get a little bit more tight with their controls there. Geoff taking a risky jump through the saw blade. There's a lot of stuff that's ready to cut and squash you here in Metallic Madness Zone. John almost done with the Mirage Saloon boss. Ooh, CJ again taking more hits. This is really gonna be a little bit difficult for him if he can't tighten up his gameplay, like we were saying before. So far, I mean, he does have 21 extra lives. I'm not, like, worried that he's going to gain a game over, but the problem is, if he loses any lives at some really important parts... Ooh, that was close there. If he loses any lives at important parts, that could give Geoff an opportunity to strike. CJ does have a pretty healthy lead, so ultimately it may not make much of a difference if he does die a couple times. It is CJ's game to lose at this point as we reach the mid-boss of Titanic Monarch Zone. And as John makes it to Oil Ocean Zone. Flew through that boss. Got it done. Not bad. All right. CJ going for a careful approach here. 1 strike per round. Per drop of the balls, if you will. Meanwhile, Geoff is pretty steadily making his way through Metallic Madness Zone. Nothing too... Ooh. Well, you know, commentator's curse. Right as I say it, we have some trouble there. Good use of the drop dash to get up that slanted platform. That definitely was a good call there. CJ now in the second phase of the Titanic Monarch Zone mid-boss fight. This one I think is really fun. I'm actually a big fan of this. The little gravity effects are really cool, and if you jump just as the gravity changes, you can get a little boost from some of the different things there. It's all really well thought out, honestly. I like it quite a bit. All right, Geoff looking for an exit from this little section here while John slip and slides around in Oil Ocean. CJ making it to the final act of the game here at the Games. Do you see what I did there with the words coming from my mouth? Geoff arriving at the Metallic Madness Zone mid-boss, featuring one Dr. Chauncey Eggman. I think that's his name. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Born and raised in Topeka. Grew up in an eggplant farm. Pretty sure that's him. It looks like him. If I ask him later, maybe he'll you know. I just want to know if he knows a guy. That's all. It's not like a big deal. It doesn't matter for this. Anyway, CJ is in Act 2, Titanic Monarch Zone. Just a few seconds in, and he's about to hit the hub area between the 4 segments, the 4 legs that he has to clear. Geoff having some bad luck with the final zone pylons. There we go. The trick is if there is any space between the two that are going to move, you want to be in between them because it will give you a free shot on all sides. Also, I'm pretty sure that Eggman will appear in every fourth pylon that moves in this second phase. I'm relatively sure that's how this works, but I don't know for certain. It seems to be holding so far, so it's a good sign. All right, there we go. Geoff, now halfway through Metallic Madness Zone, making his way to Act 2 as CJ makes his way to the end, I believe, of the first leg. I thought it was right around here. Maybe I could be mistaken. I guess not. I thought that was right basically the end of the first segment. But it would seem that's not the case. Oh, slipping backwards through the teleport gas. Gotta watch out for that. John at the Oil Ocean Zone mid-boss. Having some trouble. Ooh, ooh! Alright, maybe it can crush you. Yikes. That's unfortunate. That's a bummer of a place to die. All right. And CJ continuing his ascent. Geoff continuing his right ascent. I don't know how to describe moving to the right in a way that is comparable to ascent. I don't know. Procent? Like proceed or progress? All right, John trying to be a bit more careful this time. Ooh, taking the wrench to the face, though. All right, back to the middle again. Good call, good call. Struggling to land these hits. There it is. All right, John making it through Act 1. On his way to Act 2 as CJ clears out the first of 4 legs in Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2. Geoff continuing through Metallic Madness Zone Act 2. And John now entering Oil Ocean Zone Act 2. All right, Geoff now experiencing the joy of Baby Andrew Sonic, the long-lost friend of Baby Andrew Knuckles. All right, they're continuing through a bunch of squishy squish zones, doing their best. Oh, and they got squishy squished. That is very unfortunate. CJ trying to get, there we go, a little bumper. Ooh, a little bumper action, but not getting much love from our Jacob's ladders all over the sides there. All right. John, I was going to call him Geoff. John riding the sub down and taking a bullet directly to the face. You hate to see it. All right. Ooh, and again, diving directly into that bullet. Not so good. Not so good. Geoff trying again at the little squishy squish section. Trying this time not to get squishy squished. Let's see how he does. And he successfully does not get squishy squished. At least not entirely. Perfect. All right. CJ progressing through another of the legs. John at risk of starting to lose his rings one by one if he doesn't get a switch pulled very shortly, which is an even more dangerous thing right now since he has no extra lives. You do not want to be taking unnecessary risks in this game if you don't have an extra life handy, which John does not. He skips by the checkpoint entirely, perhaps realizing that if he dies, it doesn't entirely matter. Granted, there could be extra lives on the way, so who knows. Ooh, taking the shortest path he possibly can, though he's missing out on a couple monitors and rings, and this could bite him in the ass if he's not careful. Lots of smoke. Good use of a spin dash jump, but unfortunately... Ooh, oh dear. There it is. A third game over for John. I think this is where we put the fork in it, honestly, but all of these runs, for what it's worth, were run independently of each other. Nobody was running side by side with one another. Not for like any like rules-based purposes, mostly just from a technical standpoint. There wasn't a realistic way for us to do that. Especially not to get like good crisp footage of all of the runners. Geoff now arriving at the boss 2 Metallic Madness Zone. Let's see. if he can get into Titanic Monarch Zone before CJ finishes his run. It's actually looking pretty good so far. The final boss takes a little while. Geoff is just kind of hanging out, looking up, looking down, looking around. Not sure if he's quite noticed. He might now realize that he is the one who is in control of the enemies approaching. Don't know if he's aware that you can actually send multiple enemies. Oh, he actually got away from that Amy doll before it did any damage to him. That was impressive. I didn't realize you could actually do that. All right, CJ now entering the final boss fight. This is probably going to be it for CJ, sealing up a silver medal for the Daisy Baby Bitch territory. 16 hits is what it takes. Let's see if he's got a lightning shield, which is great for this fight. Although it doesn't look like he is sure whether it will actually protect him from the electrified arms. Oh, and he loses it also. All right, one arm down. Second one is half done. Geoff finishing off the boss for Metallic Madness Zone. So it looks like he will indeed be reaching Titanic Monarch just in time for CJ to finish the game. John still very much behind at this point. He is a full 2 zones behind, actually 2.5 really, behind Geoff, who is the better part of a zone behind CJ at this point. Oh dear! John narrowly missing getting pinched. Getting them pinchy no Da Vinci. Up against his favorite mechanic, Dave. Can he get the clean finish? There it is. All right. Getting through Act 1 while Geoff gets into Titanic Monarch Zone Act 1, while CJ is down to the end of the final boss fight that will end his run and should secure the silver for his country. Now, CJ has figured out that if you stand right in the center here, you will never be bothered by Heavy Shinobi. Absolutely brilliant. All right, here we go. John already taking a death in Oil Ocean Zone Act 2. Not a good place to be. CJ now down to 3 hits left to finish his run. Can he clean it right here? 1, 2, there it is. CJ with the time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, 57.8 seconds, netting Daisy Baby Bitch territory the silver. All right, great job from CJ. Excellent run. 2:05, sub 2:06. That's a solid time. Pretty damn good. Not bad at all, my dude. Geoff now in the early portion of Titanic Monarch Zone, looking to net a bronze for Tierra de los Hermanos Hook, while John races through Oil Ocean Zone in an attempt to swing it from behind for the country of Youbetchastan. It's not looking good. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm not sure how I feel about his chances here. But we're gonna keep at it. We're gonna see how it goes. Anything could happen. A late game over from Geoff up against the final boss, for example, could give John a full 20 minutes of time back that he doesn't have right now. And anything could happen from there. So we need to see some real action out of John. And we need to see Geoff seal his 3rd place standings for his own team. Extra life for Geoff, making that game over further and further away. John watching his hopes for a bronze medal in this event start to dwindle. All right, making our way up here. It's interesting, now we've got all the action on the right side of the screen. The left is all kind of just hanging out now. But alas, here we are. This is how things go sometimes at the games. All right. Geoff dealing with a vertical jump segment a la Metropolis Zone Act 2. I have no shame in admitting, as a child, that section always got me. It was a couple years, I think, until... Ooh! Oh, gnarly hit on Geoff, taking him back as John gets to the boss of Oil Ocean Zone. What I was saying before... Oh, no! Another one! Oh, Geoff! Oh, while John also takes the dive. Yikes! Is the pressure starting to get to them? These athletes have been at it for 2 hours, 8.5 minutes. They really are starting to feel that time working against them. Oh, Geoff taking a little interesting damage boost to get the platforming segment taken care of. As I was saying before, in Metropolis as a child, Metropolis Zone Act 2 has a segment where you need to run up a wall to your left and then jump off of it in order to reach a platform, and that was a technique that I literally hadn't even considered a possibility until well after I had beaten Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Just never occurred to me, and then one day I got it, and I felt like the biggest dummy dum-dum in the world. All right, John with no rings. He's going to need this to be extremely clean. Oh, God, no. John, his 4th game over. His 2nd game over in Oil Ocean Zone alone. Oh, God, the humanity. The tragedy. Right at the boss. Right at the boss. John taking a second to collect himself before diving back in. John now a full 3 zones behind Geoff. It would take a miracle at this point. Oh, God, and John getting pinched in the fire pipe. Oof. Not a good way to go. They pinch you, and they leave you to burn. The horror. Geoff going for a pretty complicated maneuver here. Not sure where he's going for, as it looks like that's an exit pipe. Though perhaps there may be a shortcut if you can get through it to the other side. John rocketing through, though, as is usually the case with Oil Ocean Zone, there are spikes everywhere, just waiting to take out anyone impatient enough to not look before they cross the street. Geoff making his way through the gymnastics portion of this routine before getting up to, oh dear, before getting to the oh no vault. All right, ooh. Sneaky little segment there. The invincibility helps quite a bit. John taking another death. He is once again no extra lives in Oil Ocean Zone. John seems to be considering just wallowing in the oil, but he has opted to continue. Oh, boy. Very lucky that there were not spikes right there. That's a very... Oh, my goodness. Yet another very close call with the fire pipes. John just taking the most terrifying route through this zone. But he's got rings again. He's not on death's door. He has a chance to get through this at last. Let's see how he does. Because not only does he have Act 1, but he does have Act 2 yet again. Oof, running into the big spiky bracelets. I've never been entirely clear on what those are or what shape they're even supposed to be. They look kind of like bracelets, I guess, as Geoff arrives at the mid-boss of Titanic Monarch Zone. All right, here we go. Taking an early hit as he goes in for the damage, using the damage boost to his advantage. John up against Dave the Mechanic once again. Geoff trying to hang on to at least one ring so that he is not on death's door for this entire battle. And let's be real, this one is a kind of a tricky battle to not take damage in, so worth doing for sure. John making it back into Oil Ocean Zone Act 2 for the 3rd time. Hopefully, 3rd is the magic fraction that gives him the action and a little compaction. Because that is what we all need. Oof, Geoff taking a nasty little hit there as the gravity suddenly changes on him. Ooh, misses with the spin dash, almost gets hit with a beam. And looking at the time, we're already almost at 8 minutes from Geoff here. This is definitely a long stretch here. He's going to have to hustle to get through Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2, as that level is longer, and you do have to get through the stage in 10 minutes. Now, I believe, there we go, just shy of 8 minutes. And I believe when you time out in a Sonic level, I would have to double check on this. I believe what happens is you go back to, like, it just counts as a death, and you go back to the last checkpoint where the time resets, I think. I don't think they make you redo the entire stage. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Anyway, Geoff clearing out the mid-boss, making his way to the final act of the game. Taking a look off to the left. What you doing over there? Are you a little stage fright? There you go, You're good, you got it. Heading on into the final act of the game. The final act of the games, in fact, since this is our last event. Getting through some gears, very reminiscent of Metropolis Zone. Were there gears in Final Zone? I don't think there were. Geoff arrives at the hub, opts to go with the bottom left path first, which I think is the one I did first as well. I don't recall. I think CJ went up left first. Geoff just kind of hanging out, checking out the sights, getting himself thrown in some pits. John just living with the smoke, but once again, on his last life, it is very dangerous to be leaving that smoke alone here. Oh my goodness, the seahorses not grabbing rings. If he doesn't get rid of the smoke, he's going to be in some real danger. Oh boy, there we go. He managed to get to the boss with rings. If he got here with 0 rings, I fear that we would be seeing a 5th game over from John and the 3rd of Oil Ocean Zone, but it has not happened. It has not happened, at least not yet, but I don't think it's going to happen. If I know John, he's going to buckle down and get the job done here. Oh dear. Well, that is going to... Oh, he got a ring. That was a close one, but he managed to scoop one up from the disgusting muck. Keeps himself alive with an extra ring. That is a game changer for this boss fight. All right, getting some more hits in, trying to dodge the bullets, and gets hit again. This time, oh, he still got the ring. They do hang out a little bit under the surface. Oh, getting dropped again, but still picks up the ring. John just trying to clear Oil Ocean Zone at long last. Can he do it? All right. Oh, getting stuck inside the boss, but he finishes it. Holy cow. John clearing Oil Ocean Zone at long last. And he will be headed to the last quarter of this game. Geoff working his way through Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2 with a lightning shield in hand. Never mind. He will probably be pretty safe in keeping his lead going, barring some truly tragic circumstances. Now again, at this point, Titanic Monarch Zone is a very long zone. It is not unusual at all for the zone to take upwards of 20 minutes between Act 1, Act 2, and the boss, which resets the clock. So if... Ooh, my goodness. If Geoff were to game over, especially near the end, that may give John the chance he needs in order to catch back up. And unfortunately for John, I think that is the only way that it's going to happen at this point. A game over right near the end, it would at least guarantee a good 10-15 minutes. And Lava Reef Zone isn't too terrible. Metallic Madness can get a little beefy. But that's what he would probably need in order to actually catch up at this rate. He's now behind by 2.5 zones. That's less him catching up and more Titanic Monarch Zone just being longer. John working his way past our eventual mini-boss in his early stages, grabbing some rings, continuing onward, grabbing the button. In we go, through the weird mud door. We don't talk about the mud door. Geoff dealing with those terrible pig things from Scrap Brain Zone. Ooh, sneaky, sneaky spikes on Geoff. All right, Geoff taking it nice and easy here. Moving forward. And dropping down. Got some electricity to watch out for. Whoop. A little shy on the rings. There it is. And he is headed down. All right. John is in an interesting spot here, as this segment is pretty reminiscent of a similar one in the Sonic and Knuckles version of Lava Reef Zone, where there's actually normally a giant ring hidden in an area right there. There's a room full of rings, and then I believe nearby is a giant ring. And that is not there in this game. All right, Geoff continuing his march through Titanic Monarch Zone. Act 2. John pushing hard, trying to get through, making his way to the mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone. This little segment's a little complicated, as you actually want to be going not that high, not that fast, because you want to get into that little tunnel on the right, and it's a little tough, because if you go too high, you grab that pole and spin around it. There you go. And we made it. John, using the metal legs. They're so sexy. It's too sexy for its legs. All right. Geoff racing around at the speed of sound. Somebody's nearby, though, and takes a pot shot, knocking his rings away. As he keeps moving, and he should be coming up on the end of this leg fairly shortly, I believe. Is it not around this bend? Am I misremembering? Oh, I remember this section. It's one of those... There's a lot of zones in Sonic that have these reversal sections. Launch Base Zone in particular comes to mind for one like this. I like the fact that we got one of those gravity wells as a part of the switchback maneuver here. I think that's really cool. John also going for the advancing lava pool. Geoff heading into his fourth and final leg of Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2 as John continues to push hard through Lava Reef Zone. Though it looks like this is just about sealed up. Again, not impossible, just very unlikely. Ooh! Commentator's curse. I speak it. And then it happens. Geoff pushing to get up to the top here, while John is making his way down into another section that is pretty much ripped directly from Sonic and Knuckles as he hits the mid-boss. Our little armored pincer guy. A few of our racers have been trying to attack it directly, but it cannot be harmed until its armor has been melted off using the lava. It takes 3 hits from the lava. As you can see, it's had 2 hits now, and on the next hit, the armor will fall off. However, you do need to land on rock for it to try to mine it in order to set off the little lava eruption that weakens its armor. Geoff struggling with the little platforming section here in the gravity wells as John continues to work on... Ooh! Ouch! As John continues to work on the mid-boss of Lava Reef Zone. A couple more hits at this point should do it, because now we can actually do damage. I'm not positive if the lava does damage to this thing after... I would have to take a look at the exact number of hits there. But it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, that the lava does 1 or 2 hits worth of damage to the mid-boss. And now Geoff making his way to the final boss, 3 lives in hand. This is the final countdown for the bronze medal as John descends into Lava Reef Zone Act 2. Let's see if he's got what it takes. All right. And the timer has been reset. Geoff versus Eggman and the hard-boiled heavies. Well, 4 of them anyway. Taking hits right away off the electrified arms. We got our own little Dr. Octopus situation here. Got missiles, very narrowly dodges one, but still takes a hit from the electrified arms anyway. And it's time for the hands. Heading on in. There we go. We've got our heavy gunner firing away as Geoff picks a couple missiles to fire back. Now, I believe you can actually damage the hard-boiled heavies enough such that they will go away for good. John dodging a giant ring. Very smart move. However, the final battle generally doesn't last long enough for that to be a meaningful thing to do. If you're efficient with your hits on Eggman, you really don't need to worry about the hard-boiled heavies in that regard, because you're not going to see them often enough. Geoff now one arm down. 3 to go. Heavy Shinobi now in play, throwing his blades all over the blades. And taking a hit, as he usually does on, most everybody. Oop, grab those rings. Be a bad time to be losing them now. All right, about 2 hours, 24 minutes. Geoff looking to seal it up here, giving his country the bronze. Their third bronze if they get it. Working on that second arm still. John pushing his way through Lava Reef Zone. Can he get through Lava Reef Zone before Geoff finishes off the final boss? Geoff is taking it nice and easy for the final boss. We haven't seen, I believe this is Heavy Magician, yes. We haven't seen her in my or CJ's run so far. I don't recall if they are always in order, but I believe that was the order that the first two were before. John struggling with the barrel drum for Lava Reef Zone. Cannot seem to get his height. He's throwing himself a little too late, I believe. You want to get it when Sonic's, there we go, more or less at the center of the barrel. Continuing on. Geoff still has 3 arms to go, struggling to land hits. This is going to be quite the endurance test. And now Geoff against the one I don't know the name of. Heavy Rider, probably? I hope we get to see this Motobug again in the presumably inevitable Sonic Mania sequel. Geoff very lucky to have not gotten crushed there by those spikes. All right. John flipping some switches, switching around some conveyor belts. Geoff still being very cautious with our final boss here. Second arm destroyed. 8 hits separate him from his bronze medal. Down to 7. All right, and we're going back for the hands. Catch these hands. Let's see how it goes. Can he do it? He's going to have to be quick because Heavy Shinobi is coming back. And that thing is a killer. John struggling to keep a handle on his rings. Lava Reef Zone is running him through the ringer, as it were. Abandons his ring to continue onward. At this point, he has plenty of extra lives. So he is not in the same danger he was for a good portion of Oil Ocean Zone. All right, he continues forward. 1 arm left for Geoff. John lining up his shots. There we go. All right. Geoff looking to dodge damage here. Oh, dear. Hits the bumper and takes the hit. And gives one back, too. All right, and we're back into it. Geoff on the final hits. All he's got to do is land right here what he needs, and we'll be done. So close. So close. Geoff, close it now. There it is. Bronze medal for Geoff of Tierra de los Hermanos Hook at 2 hours, 27 minutes, 28.6 seconds. Seeing that final cutscene as John enters Lava Reef Zone's boss. At this point, all of the medals for the event have been claimed, but now John is going to continue onward for the honor of Youbetchastan. Looking for that 4th place. Looking to at least give them a clean finish. I don't have a good idea what time he'd be shooting for at this point, but as we're coming up on 2.5 hours with Metallic Madness Zone and Titanic Monarch Zone left to go, I would say shooting for around 250, 255 would be an ideal spot. I think that's going to be where he's going to have to aim. Somewhere in that ballpark, just off of Metallic Madness, probably a good, 10 minutes, and Titanic Monarch, probably at least 15, probably closer to 20. So we'll have to see how this goes. John, at this point, deferring to the damage boosts where need be, recollecting his ring. Not getting many hits. Not getting many hits on this hard-boiled heavy. There we go. And we are out of Lava Reef Zone as John moves on to Metallic Madness. There we go. Getting that egg prison open. Sonic does a happy dance. He's surrounded by cock. Anyway, moving on to Metallic Madness Zone. Love that art. So good. Metallic Madness Zone Act 1. John racing through. Now, none of our racers were informed of anyone else's times if they were going 2nd or 3rd or 4th. Obviously, the one that went first had no times to compare to in the first place. But no one was told what the times of the other racers were, as in an ideal position, everyone would be doing this at the same time. And no one would know ahead of time what their target time is. So John, at this moment, is not aware of anyone else's times or whether they have finished. So John is still racing through with the intent of at least catching up, though at this point that is in the bag. Or out of the bag, I guess, because it's not in the bag. It's the opposite. It's in a hole in the bag, out a hole in the bag. There we go. We're figuring out phrases here today. It's fine. I wouldn't worry too much about it. All right, John marching through, getting past those awful bomb enemies from Starlight Zone. A level I generally love, but those bombs, they are cruel. The cruel mistress of the mechanized future. I call it Bommus. A little Ghostbusters action in there. Did you know that Ghostbusters was inspired by Metallic Madness Zone? This is them paying tribute back. I think it's a cute little reference. T. Lopes is with it, man. All right, John looking to grab some rings, make his journey through Metallic Madness a little less mad and a little more straightforward. Let's see how he does here. All right, up top side, coming back to the foreground, dropping down, dropping it like it is hot. Pretty sure that's how the song goes, right? Dropping it like it is hot, dropping it like it is hot. All right, that would actually make kind of an interesting little... Get a little something. Ooh. John and Geoff both, but John especially with the game overs has been plagued by getting crushed randomly between moving platforms, so makes me a little nervous anytime I see him approaching one at fast speed. All right, John making some clean platforming in the background here, continuing to make his move. All right. Here we go, final zone time. Don't get crushed. No pinchy. Da Vinci. First name Leonardo. Like the turtle. Did you know Leonardo da Vinci was actually named after the Ninja Turtle? And then the cartoons decided to pay that back. Oh no! John, in a mad dash to get his rings, gets crushed in the rightmost pylon of the final zone mid-boss. Oh, going at it with no rings. Daring. Daring. Could we make the word for 0 day? Because that is day ring. Fighter of the Night Ring. Here we go. Okay. Getting some hits in. The trick is, honestly, as it was with Final Zone, the trick is usually to find the biggest gap between those as they're up top, stand between them. John's basically got it here. Stand between them and then jump. If you can get to the side, that's great, but if you can't, honestly, if you jump just before it's at Sonic's height, you'll be able to avoid the period of time where the electric balls are at their pinchiest, because you'll be up in the air. Like, duh, I guess. It's a nice little technique. It goes far. All right, there we go. John taking down the mid-boss of Metallic Madness Zone. Moving on to Act 2. Only 3 acts remain between now and victory. They say in a marathon, it doesn't matter if it takes you 3 hours or 30 hours. It's just a matter of crossing that finish line. Here we go. John making his moves, making his way downtown, underground. In this round, it's a zone now. Doodle doodle doo 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 doo. All right, we got our little baby boy doing his thing, doing his best, going for the Youbetchastan people, all cheering for him from the crowd. Their hearts are with him tonight. Here we go. Moving over here. He's got plenty of rings. He doesn't have to worry about getting, randomly killed unless he gets squished, which is a constant kind of thing to be aware of, especially here. There's a lot of that here in Metallic Madness Zone. But John seems to have a pretty good grip on it so far. Metallic Madness Zone has actually been a lot kinder to him. He's been handling it a lot better than he has the last couple zones. I'd say Lava Reef Zone, I think he did generally fine. Oil Ocean Zone was really the most difficult portion of the overall. Oh! Speak of the devil, but he did hit his checkpoint immediately before. I want to say Geoff might have actually had the same issue there. Either Geoff or CJ, I believe, also got pinched right there. Actually, no, that might have been me. I have to go back and check the tapes. But I can't because I'm right here in the booth, bringing you all the action like a local news channel that for some reason wants to feel oh, just you wait. I love the tiny little fire shield. I don't know if we've ever had a shield on little baby Andrew Sonic before. Yep, you got to watch out for that. You got to watch out for that. Well, this is why we get extra lives, folks. John using that cushion to get it done. Getting through the drop spike section. Moving through. Ducking, weaving, crocheting his way to the top. Giving it his all, no matter what. Although at this point he could go for the bumper. He seems to be content with riding out the storm. And here we go. Continuing forward. I don't know how those enemies work. They confuse the hell out of me. All right, John in one of the pits down here that I think got basically all of us. All right, heading into the background. There's a lot of background-foreground play. A lot of back and fore play here in this zone. If you catch my drizzle. Oof. Here we go. Another little baby Sonic time. John making his way up, trying not to hit the Robotnik monitor. Continuing forward, he should be close. There we go, to the boss fight of Metallic Madness Zone. Let's see how it treats him. Ooh. Good little boost right there. Getting Amy Doll taken care of. All right, some really good bouncing. John is doing a great job of chaining his attacks together here. Just pinballing around. He's pinballing around so much, I hear Geoff from Tierra de los Hermanos Hook in his locker room is sweating and staring at the ceiling, not knowing why. He's muttering something about ball bearings, but we haven't been able to figure out exactly what the deal is. Interestingly, John is able to pinball back and forth very easily, but it was struggling a little bit with the actual just jumps. And here we go. John with a super clean finish. I spoke too soon. There we go. There it is. All in all, pretty clean run of the Metallic Madness Zone boss. John seems to have found his rhythm. It turns out the way that John works best is if no one else is doing anything. Then he is at A+ athleticism, and he's ready to ride as we enter Titanic Monarch Zone, the final zone of the game of the games. Here we go. 2 hours, 38 minutes, 30 seconds. We are here at the end. Let's do this. Here we go. Titanic Monarch Zone, Act 1. Right away, dealing with our little laser bastards. Doing their thing as they are wont to do. John diving forward, making his way through. All right. Working with the gravity wells. Struggling a little bit with the timing on these launch mechanics and physics. It's been getting him a couple times today. But thankfully, he won't have to deal with them for very long anymore. Ooh, taking a nasty hit right there from the Jacob's Ladder. I sure hope that is the right thing for the thing I mean. I know it's not a Tesla coil. And I know it's not a Faraday cage. I'm pretty sure it's a Jacob's Ladder. I might be wrong. Not to be confused with the film Jacob's Ladder, which is a movie. I really don't know how much more I can say than that, really. It's an experience like no other. We'll go with that. That seems like a safe one to go with. Yeah. That seems like something I can say and have it be true, and also, leave it nice and simple, which seems like the way to go, honestly. Anyway, John rocketing around, doing a pretty good job of making his way through. Titanic Monarch Zone. A little pause there for a second. He might have been waiting, assuming that it was going to launch him out. All right, here we go. Here we go. John moving on up. Making his way. Here we go. Oh, dear. All right. Jumping on up. Getting our little bumpers on. Going through there. This would have been an interesting event to have a co-commentator for. I think this might have been neat as a two-way commentary. 4 eyeballs are better than 2 for catching stuff to look at. At this point, it wouldn't make a huge difference other than keeping some conversation going. But definitely during the meat of this run, there were definitely times where I regretted the fact that I couldn't easily keep track of... Ooh! Sneaky little ladder. That I couldn't easily keep track of all 4 runs for the more interesting segments. Let's keep this going. Here we go. John continuing to push on through. Still getting hit with those electric bolts. Oh, and again with the Metropolis jump. Oh, you got to stay on the wall and jump. There we go. You can do it. A little more. It seems like he's pressing left when he gets to the top, which is not what you want to do. You want to keep pressing right, because that's how... Ooh, narrowly dodged a Geoff squish. Oop. You want to take him out? No? Okay. Just move quickly. There you go. All right. We should be continuing on here. Whoops. I don't think we're quite to the point where we can be ready for the mid-boss just yet. But we are making our way through. Bunch of hidden Eggman faces like it's Disney World. I do like the idea of the entire level being a giant mech. I don't know if that's ever really been done in a Sonic game before. And it's doubly fitting for these classic Sonic games where that was kind of the constant thing. Where Eggman was constantly building these giant robots, as opposed to the modern Sonic games where it's usually some kind of airship or some kind of fleet of robots. Ooh, bad beat on the spikes. Continuing to... Ooh, another bad one right there, though there's an extra life waiting for him if he lands it correctly. There we go. Back to 3. That's going to be some good cushion for the push-in. And we're pushing through this last zone with all we got. John trying to make his last stand. Also going for that little midsection there for at least a little bit. Ooh. God bless those bumpers. All right. And off we go. Upwards, onwards, beyondwards, and through. All right, we know this section. Ooh, good little skip there. Yeah, very good little skip. Not bad at all. All right. Let's see if John can continue his good fortune here. Oh, continuing to do little skips here and there. Skipping whole mechanics of the level, and probably the cleanest bumper bounce we got out of anyone for that, as John reaches the mid-boss of Titanic Monarch Zone, immediately losing all of his rings, but that's okay. Oh dear, okay, you're going to want at least a few of them, I think. At this point, caution to the wind, it's D-Boost Town. There we go, get that ring back. You're going to want at least one. There you go. Uh-oh. Ooh, good catch. Whoop. Grab that back. And we're into phase 2. Here we go. All that stands between him and the final act is this guy, hailing from Death Egg Zone, with a few modifications. And another 6 hits, I think? About 6 hits. All right. Oof, dangerous position there. Whoop. Oh, no. Dangerous. Oh, boy, we're out. No, John. Oh, no. Ooh, that's a harsh one right there. As we hit 2 hours, 45 minutes, that is going to be a bit of a rough one to recover from. He's got 2 lives. Wow, the last 20 minutes have kind of flown by, haven't they? Holy cow. It only felt like 5 or 10 when I was saying my estimates for how long John would need to get through the rest of this, and they seem fairly accurate, I'll be honest. We're at 245 and change right now. We're almost at 246, and I was saying 250, 255. Most folks get through Titanic Monarch Act 2 in, a lot of folks are doing it in like 7-8 minutes. Oof, bad spot to stand. Got to get that pattern recognition down. Get those hits in, Oof. Some bad luck with the positioning and the placement here, as we're up at 6 minutes on the timer in game. So we got through the acts pretty quickly overall. He got through it faster, I think, than Geoff did. Might have been faster than CJ as well. I'd be very curious to look at the splits afterwards. Oh, John, once again, down to no rings. Needs to be very careful with how the rest of this goes. There we go. 246.30 as we get through Act 1 of Titanic Monarch Zone. John has just 1 act left to finish this game. Can he do it? Here we go. Up the elevator. Onto the final challenge for Youbetchastan's John. Here we go. Let's see how he does. As we tick over to 247, John launches himself over into the little roller coaster, where he will be headed off to our hub zone very shortly, with 4 segments standing between him and victory. Some good jumps. It feels like he's more familiar with Titanic Monarch Zone than he is with some of the other levels of the game, which is interesting. I feel like Titanic Monarch Zone is usually the one most people are least familiar with. But let's see how that holds for the rest of this act through to the end of the game. Here we go. Going for a spin dash instead of the bumper. Although the retractable bumper was hidden a little bit there, so it might not have been super obvious to him. Oh, a very clean jump. Super clean into that tunnel. Beautiful. Beautiful job. John's had some actually really good gameplay, generally speaking, here in Titanic Monarch Zone. I don't know if it was the pressure that got to him or something else, but he could have definitely clinched this a little bit better. I think he had even said that this was a run that he was not particularly proud of overall, and definitely not one of his best. But that's how the cookie crumbles. I've heard stories of sports where equipment or animals that you worked with were chosen completely at random, and even that can have an effect on your day. So, you know, who knows? John continuing forward, making his way through. One area down, 3 more to go. He's got this. Let's roll. He is going to have to straighten himself out, though, in order to actually progress there. That is the trick. He does not seem to have noticed, there we go, that these actually drop by 2 and not by 1 on each side, so he could have waited a little bit longer to advance a little further. Oof. Dives a little bit late there to the left. There is a bumper just on the right side of those spikes, but you have to either very carefully jump over them, or you need to, there we go, just carefully get to the side of it to make the platforming happen. All right, John continuing forward. Moving upward. There we go, up the platform. Managed to take damage there, though I didn't see the little cannonball. It might have been just a 1-frame thing or something. I don't know for sure. John making it through the second leg. Heading off to the third as we approach 2 hours, 50 minutes. Let's see if he can seal this one up. Let's go. All right. 2 hours, 50 ticking over right there. As we continue. Ooh! Oh, boy. That's an incredibly unlucky crunch. John now left with no extra lives. You can see that he's taking a minute to just collect himself after that really unfortunate death. Any wrong movement at this point could spell the difference between a 2 hour 55 run and a 3 hour 15 run. Let's see if he can make it through. Abandoning his, very risky move. Nearly abandoning his rings. He only had 2 of them. I think if he saw this ring box, he would have left them behind. As we're advancing upward and onward. Oh, my goodness. Almost getting crushed again. John with some very, very dangerous... Oh, my God. Incredibly dangerous maneuvers here. I don't know if it's sunk in that both sides will move up and down 2 platforms. So those risky high-speed jumps, were not necessary. But we're continuing on. John still pushing through, doing his best. I'm pretty sure in Metropolis Zone there are a few situations like that that will just kill you. All right, John still going down this way, trying to avoid the bumpers that will send him back into the pit. And now we are headed upwards, continuing through the zone. Now, this has been a dangerous spot for a lot of people. All right. A lot of folks getting crushed in that section, but John managed to make it out unscathed. Well, not unscathed, but, uncrushed, which is pretty good, all things considered. We're up to 252 as John is looking to seal this thing off for good. Riding this cart. What happened there? Oh my God, I think he got hit by a stray bullet. Well, that is really unfortunate. All right, he's got 1 segment left to go. I want to grab those rings on the way in. There you go. All right, 1 more leg, and we are done. Well, we're not done. Then we have the final boss, and John has only this life to do it unless he finds another one. He's got to find a way to navigate through this area. There we go. Moving on through Act 2. Here we go. We can do it. This segment is the one that got me earlier. If you get impatient, it's very easy to get stuck in a loop, and then this little guy with the laser sight can become a bit of a problem. Oh, my goodness. All right, I think he actually managed to kill the enemy, so... Oh, no, he didn't. It's just right there. There we go. Good job. All right. All right, we're going up and through, over, and progressing. All right. John pushing hard, pushing through. I did some football in high school, and we were always told you never stop until the whistle blows. Doesn't matter if you think the play is over. You keep going until someone tells you to stop. Here we go. John continuing through Titanic Monarch Zone Act 2. Continuing his ascent. Surely battling a significant amount of stress at this point. Nearly 3 hours in. That is some stress that will get to anyone. John looking to finish things off. Looking for a place to go. Not finding it. All right. Abandoning the right area, heading left, though it looks like there's bumpers right there that he would want to use. And again, the gravity well is giving him some significant trouble in this game. Not sure. There we go. Wasn't sure entirely where it was going. All right. John once again checking the same area. Whoop, getting kind of stuck in the little armpit zone there. Nope. All right. Perhaps to the upper left would be the way to go. There we go. As we hit 2 hours, 55 minutes, John exits the fourth leg and moves on to the final boss of Sonic Mania. All he's got to do here is land those 16 hits without dying, and this one is in the bag. All right, here we go, John. You can do this. It's tricky. It is definitely a very hard final boss. Harder than Final Zone for sure. I would say harder than Death Egg Zone. I would also probably say harder than... It was certainly harder than Death Egg Zone in Sonic 3. Probably... I wouldn't say this is as hard as the Doomsday Zone, but that feels like an unfair comparison. Especially since Egg Reverie Zone is definitely harder than the Doomsday Zone, in my opinion. All right. John got a couple hits in. Struggling to keep his rings, though. He's got a handle on 2 of them. He's got 4. All right. He has yet to take away any of the arms, but the hardest part is definitely as you're getting the first 2 arms taken care of. There's arm number 1. 4 hits down, 12 to go. Oh, he's going to need to get that ring back. All right. All right, 3 hits on the second arm. That leaves him with 9 hits between here and victory. Can he do it? Oh, no. Oh, that's a very not good time. There we go, to be losing that ring. Also, not a great time to be very aggressive here. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, no. And a game over for John in the middle of the final boss in Titanic Monarch Zone. And I'm sorry to say, John opted at this point to forfeit rather than rerun Titanic Monarch Zone, which means that we have our final times for this race. In first place for the gold medal is me, actually, at 1 hour, 44 minutes, 11.1 seconds. In second place, taking home the silver is CJ with 2 hours, 5 minutes, 57.8 seconds. In third, taking the bronze is Geoff with 2 hours, 27 minutes, 28 seconds, 0.6. And John not going home with a medal and not completing the run. And that brings us to our final medal counts. Tierra de los Hermanos Hook walks home as the medal-winning country with 8 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze. Imperium Ludum goes home as the second most decorated, at least in terms of gold, with 6 gold, 2 silver, and 5 bronze. Youbetchastan goes home with 1 gold, 9 silver. That's silver in the majority of events at the games, and 3 bronze. And Daisy Baby Bitch Territory here for a good time with 1 gold, 3 silver, and 5 bronze. Notably, Tierra de los Hermanos Hook, Imperium Ludum, and Youbetchastan all going home with the same number of medals, 13 apiece. That's pretty interesting. As for the individual medal counts, we have myself with 6 golds, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze. Dave with 5 golds in 5 events. Myself and Dave medaling in all of our events. Jose with 2 golds and 1 silver. John with 1 gold, 4 silvers, and 1 bronze. We've got Geoff also medaling in all events. 1 gold, 1 silver, 2 bronze. Lindsay with a gold and 2 bronzes, one of which was shared with CJ. Dustin, 4 silver medals. Very cool. CJ with 3 silvers, 3 bronzes. Ian with 1 silver and 2 bronzes, also medaling in every event. We've got Sarah with 3 bronzes. We've got Beeble with 1 bronze, though it is the one event he was in, so technically also medaled in every event he was in. Felice with 1 bronze, and Peter with 1 bronze. Guys, I could not thank you enough for taking part in watching. I guess that was a weird way to put that. Thank you so much for watching the games. This has been an amazing journey. This is something I've wanted to do for years. There was actually someone that I wanted to try to have on for commentator. It didn't work out for this, but who knows down the line, where I discovered scrolling through our message history that I had messaged them about basically the same idea 5 years ago. So this has been a thing that's been on my mind for a very long time, and I'm so proud of finally being able to have brought it to fruition. I cannot thank you guys enough for sticking around for this. This was wild. It was a really great time. I want to thank all of the participants in the games. I want to thank Sarah and Beeble. I want to thank Geoff and his team, Dave, Jose, Peter. I want to thank John, his team, Ian, and Dustin. I want to thank CJ, Felice, Lindsay, everybody that participated in this. It was total chaos to organize, but it's been a blast. I think everybody had a pretty good time with it, and I hope you guys did too. I especially double, triple, quadruple want to thank our commentators for this series. It was a lot to ask of them, usually on incredibly short notice, and I could not be happier with the result. Everyone that commentated was incredible. Retro Trigger, Tori, Lady Sayla, Sea-Dude, Hyper Mode, Ween and Squishy of Ape Arcade, Retro Roulette's very own Anthony, Sam, and Photogenic Justin, Teddy, a.k.a. Evil Hippie, Max and Lynn of Game Face, Ian from Born Losers Gaming, and of course, Caitlin Bairstow and Ian Hanlon. All of you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I owe all of you so many favors as a result of this. So, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And, oh, I'm getting word now that we need to cut live to our closing ceremonies. Oh, they're here? Oh. We ran out of budget. We blew it on all the commentators, and we kind of just paid them an exposure, so bye.